Naruto, Thousand Hands of Glory. Chapter 1. Hand. In an ordinary house in Konoha, the old man, who looked like a dying candle, held the child's hand tightly and said to him solemnly, "Yanagi, you must remember that we are the descendants of Senju clan. Even if Hashirama-sama and Tobirama-sama have stopped the Senju clan from being passed down, you must never forget the glory of the Senju clan. You must aspire to become as great as Hashirama-sama. I will definitely keep it in mind. I will definitely do my best to become a ninja like Master Hashirama and bring the glory of the Senju back to the ninja world." The child's eyes revealed determination, and his small fingers were tightly clenched, as if he was announcing his determination to the world. His expression was serious and earnest, with a maturity that did not match his age. Every word is like a vow from the bottom of the heart, sincere and touching. At that moment, his promise shone brightly like a bright star. One can't help but believe that this child will stick to his promise and work hard to realize his dream. Hearing his grandson's answer, the breathing of this glorious old man who had fought in the ninja world for many years gradually became steady, as his life was gradually coming to an end. His face was peaceful and his eyes were gently closed, as if he was saying goodbye to the world. Yanagi felt the hand that had been tightly holding him loosen slightly, and the original tight grip gradually dissipated. The surrounding environment seemed to mourn for him, and time seemed to freeze at this moment. Yanagi held the old man's hand silently with tears in her eyes. Her eyes were full of grief and reluctance, but she could also feel that the old man's departure was so peaceful and reassuring. Finally, the old man's body completely relaxed and his soul embarked on a new journey. Yanagi's eyes were filled with tears. Every tear represented the child's deep longing for and reluctance to part with his grandfather, and his crying revealed his love and dependence on his grandfather. The child's heart was experiencing great pain at this moment, and he was looking for a little comfort and relief in his crying. "Leave Uncle Taeki's funeral to me, Yanagi, don't be too sad. I promised Taeki that I would take care of you." A beautiful woman with long light yellow hair, her hair tied into a large ponytail, gently stroked the boy and spoke to him comfortingly. "Thank you, Tsunade-senpai." Yanagi said to Tsunade solemnly. "Call me sister, you little brat are not cute at all." Tsunade tapped the boy's head gently, showing a little helplessness. "It hurts." "Be gentle, Tsunade." The boy saw Tsunade's raised hand and immediately changed his words, "Sister Tsunade. I'm about to become a ninja, stop patting my head all the time, or I'll become stupid." I know. Just like Noeki." Tsunade ruffled Yanagi's hair and couldn't help but complain. "Sister, I'm not stupid." Noeki on the side immediately refuted. However, in a flash, he squatted down with his head in his hands because of Tsunade's force intimidation. "Yanagi, you will live with me and Noeki in the future. After all, there are only a few of us left in the tribe now." Yanagi nodded slightly, indicating that after accompanying his grandfather for a few days, he would move in with them. At night, Yanagi gazed at the stars and recalled his years in the ninja world. He was originally a Naruto game enthusiast in the new era of China. Although he had watched the anime and comics several times, he was not the type to study them in depth. As a result, he forgot a lot of the plot. He swore that if he could do it again, he would study Naruto in depth and become a fire scientist. Moreover, several years have passed since I traveled to this Naruto world, and except for the initial hearing of the game system being decompressed, there has been no movement since then. However, fate always seems to like playing tricks on people. Not long after he was born, his parents were unfortunately killed in the brutal struggle in the ninja world, leaving him, a young and ignorant boy, to depend on his old and frail grandfather. Even Yanagi himself began to doubt whether the so-called game system really existed or was just an absurd illusion. Drip, drip, drip. Accompanied by a series of clear and rhythmic electronic prompt sounds, the decompression progress bar of the game system finally came to the end. Suddenly, the cold mechanical sound exploded in Yanagi's ears like thunder, startling him so much that he staggered and almost fell off the roof. However, just a moment later, an uncontrollable ecstasy appeared on Yanagi's face. He opened his eyes wide and stared at the flashing system interface in front of him. After so many years, the cheating gold finger he had been looking forward to for a long time has finally arrived. At this moment, Yanagi seemed to have seen a bright future beckoning to him with this powerful golden finger. He will roam freely in the ninja world and be invincible. Thinking of this, Yanagi couldn't help but cover his mouth. He couldn't laugh out loud, otherwise Tsunade and the others would think he was crazy because of excessive grief. After calming down his excitement, he took a deep breath to calm himself down. Then, he immediately began to try to learn how to operate this mysterious system. When he tried to touch the system in front of him, he was surprised to find that he could not touch it at all. This confused him for a while, but he soon realized there might be other ways to interact with the system. So, he kept repeating in his mind, "Beginner's tutorial. Beginner's tutorial." It was as if calling for guidance hidden in the system. Sure enough, a miracle happened. The system screen in front of me suddenly switched, showing completely new content. A line of eye-catching text appeared in front of him. This system is the product of the Ultimate Civilization's research on exploring multiple time and space. The host only needs to think in his mind to operate it. Please select your personal attributes. Yanagi was delighted and said silently in his mind without hesitation, "Open personal attributes." As soon as the words fell, the scene in front of him changed instantly. A clear image of himself appeared in his vision, with some detailed information written next to him. Name, Yanagi, Thousand-Armed Yanagi. Sex, male. Age, 6 years old. Strength, an ordinary person who has mastered some physical skills. Chakra attributes, water, earth, yang. Special abilities, sage body, elementary, wood release, unawakened. Yanagi looked at the data panel that appeared in front of him, which displayed detailed information about his various attributes. He was not particularly surprised by the above data and abilities, because as the grandson of the elder of the Senju clan, he knew very well that he had powerful blood flowing in his body, and these talents and potentials were innate. However, when his eyes fell on the last item, wood release, Yanagi couldn't help but widen his eyes, his face full of disbelief. You know, in the entire Naruto world, there are only a few people who can master the magical ninjutsu like wood release. Except for Hashirama Senju, who is known as the god of ninja. If others want to possess the power of wood release, they must transplant Hashirama Senju's cells. Yanagi realized that he had obtained an opportunity beyond his imagination, but at the same time he was also confused how could he awaken this potential power of wood release? Without hesitation, he muttered in his mind, "How to awaken wood release?" System query. Chapter 2. The system is querying, query completed. If you want to awaken wood release, you need to find a place where the power of nature gathers. Yanagi stared at the system interface in front of him, thinking to himself, a place where the power of nature gathers. Could this so-called power of nature be the mysterious energy absorbed by the sage mode? He couldn't help but think back to his favorite fantasy novels before his rebirth. The energy used by the cultivators in those novels was the same energy contained in the world. This natural energy is truly amazing, and it seems to contain endless mysteries and potential. In addition to Naruto's use of the sage mode like a cheat, the energy absorbed by the sacred tree planted by the Otsutsuki clan must also come from the natural power of the planet itself. The reason why wood release has such powerful power is undoubtedly due to the influence of the power of the sacred tree. With his superb wood release technique, Hashirama Senju treated the nine tails like a toy with just a clap of his hands. Even Uchiha Madara, who possessed the eternal Mangeki Sharingan, used such an earth-shattering move as the Power Suit Susanoo, but he still could not defeat the terrifying power of Hashirama Senju's wood release technique. Thinking of this, Yanagi became more and more curious and eager about this mysterious force of nature. If I can master this power, I can definitely fulfill the promise I made to Grandpa Tei. However, the place where the power of nature gathers, should be the three holy places. The Wetbone Forest is as famous as Mount Myaboku and Ryokai Cave and is known as one of the three sacred places. Among the legendary three ninjas of Konoha, Jiraiya practiced in Mount Myaboku, Orochimaru practiced in Ryokai Cave, and Tsunade practiced in the Wetbone Forest. As a descendant of the Senju clan, he possessed unique conditions and could easily approach and master the psychic ninjutsu, and obtain the mysterious power from the three holy places. Thinking of this, Yanagi couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. However, just as the excitement was gradually fading, he suddenly felt an indescribable tiredness surge over his heart. After all, after experiencing great grief, there was the ecstasy of completing the system decompression. Such a huge ups and downs in emotions would be a bit overwhelming for anyone. With heavy steps, Yanagi returned to the room and fell on the bed. Soon he fell into a deep sleep. Yanagi! Yanagi! Wake up! Yanagi was awakened from his sleep by a burst of rapid shouting. He barely opened his heavy eyelids and vaguely saw a figure standing beside the bed. Nawaki, what are you doing so early? I'm not awake yet. Let me take a nap. Yanagi murmured to himself, turned over and prepared to go back to sleep. However, Noeki obviously did not intend to let him go easily. He grabbed Yanagi's shoulders and shook him hard. No, my sister said we are going to enter the ninja school soon, so she asked me to call you to go train with us. If you don't get up, it will be troublesome when my sister comes. As soon as Tsunade was mentioned, Yanagi's sleepiness instantly disappeared without a trace. He knew Tsunade's temper very well. Although she had a beautiful face, she was the princess of the Senju clan in the Land of Fire. But he didn't want to see her super powerful punch. Just think about how Jiraiya spent several months in the hospital. So he sat up with a start, quickly put on his clothes, and followed Noeki to the training ground. Along the way, Noeki complained about Tsunade while telling Yanagi about his expectations for the upcoming ninja school life. And Yanagi was silently thinking about the future. When they rushed to the training ground in a hurry, they finally felt relieved. It turned out that Tsunade had not arrived yet. Phew, that was a close call. We finally got here before her. Someone said with relief. He, luckily my sister hasn't come yet, otherwise it would be terrible. I really don't understand what it is about a fierce tigress like her that big brother Jiraiya likes. Noeki was talking excitedly when he suddenly saw the look of fear on the face of Lu on the opposite side, and he closed his mouth reflexively. Then he slowly turned around and met Tsunade's smiling eyes. Noeki, you are so good now that you dare to say bad things about me behind my back. Tsunade said with a smile on her face. Before she finished speaking, she raised her right hand and gave Noeki a love from a sister in a lightning speed. After teaching her brother a lesson, Tsunade turned serious and said to the two of them, you are about to start your ninja school career. There have been more and more frictions in the ninja world in recent years. It's hard to say when another war will break out in the ninja world. Noeki and Yanagi knew very well that the conflicts in the ninja world had never stopped. From the endless wars between families, to Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha leading the Senju and Uchiha clans to overcome difficulties together, pacify the world, and establish the ninja village system. However, the good times did not last long. After Uchiha Madara's betrayal, he had a thrilling life and death duel with Senju Hashirama. In the end, Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama died one after another. After that, other ninja villages saw the rich resources of the Fire Country and became greedy, which triggered the first large-scale war in the ninja world. In this chaotic battle, in order to protect the safe retreat of the backbone of Konoha's younger generation, Senju Tobirama stepped forward to act as bait and lured Kinkaku and Ginkaku into a trap, but he died heroically. Yanagi was of course aware that the Second Ninja World War would break out in a few years, but the exact time had long been unclear. At this moment, he suddenly turned his head and looked at Noeki as if waking up from a dream, and a sense of foreboding surged in his heart. It seemed that Noeki had unfortunately died in the upcoming war. Hey, why are you looking at me like that? It makes me feel creepy. Noeki felt a little uneasy when he felt the strange gaze from Yanagi. It's okay, I just feel that someone like you will suffer in a war with your personality. Yanagi pretended not to care and scratched the back of his head as he answered Noeki. I am a man who wants to become Hokage. I want to protect existence like my grandfather and second grandfather. How can a small war be difficult for me? I'm super brave, okay. After saying this, Noeki wiped his nose with his thumb in a handsome manner. Yanagi is right. An idiot like you will definitely be in danger if you go to the battlefield. Even second grandfather. Tsunade shook her head violently and said, in short, whether you want to become a Hokage or protect the village, you must become strong, understand? Got it. The two answered in unison. Then, Tsunade nodded slightly and began to teach them the techniques and methods on how to draw chakra from inside their own bodies. Her voice was deep and powerful, as if it could penetrate one's soul. To successfully extract the chakra from your body, you must first concentrate your mind and focus your attention completely on your body. As Tsunade's explanation became more and more in-depth, the two young people listened attentively to every word and sentence, and put into practice according to the steps she said. They closed their eyes tightly, feeling the flow of air around them and the changes in their own energy flow, trying to guide these forces together to form a powerful and stable chakra flow. Chapter 3. As descendants of the Senju clan, Noeki and Yanagi possess a precious physique inherited from the Otsutsuki clan, the sage body. This allows them to easily extract vast amounts of chakra from their bodies. Just as Yanagi was fully feeling the powerful force surging in his body, a pleasant prompt sound suddenly rang out from the system, ding. The host has successfully extracted chakra. Achievement achieved. The road to becoming a ninja is opened. Then, the system urged, please collect the achievement gift package as soon as possible. Hearing this news, Yanagi said silently in his heart without hesitation, receive the reward. Instantly, the system spoke again, congratulations on obtaining the chakra weapon. A good weapon is the starting point for victory. Now, please select the type of weapon you want. I choose the Han sword. After thinking for a moment, Yanagi decisively chose the Han sword that he loved most before his rebirth. It was also a proof to commemorate his past life as a Chinese child. At this moment, a clear reminder sounded, the Han sword red blood has been generated. A set of sword techniques is included. It has been placed in the system item storage space and can be taken out at any time. An indescribable joy surged in Yanagi's heart. This Han sword will become his most reliable partner in his future journey, accompanying him to face countless challenges and tests. While Yanagi was happy that he had obtained a good weapon, Tsunade, who was guarding the two of them, was shocked by the huge energy coming from Yanagi. There is such a vast amount of chakra in the first extraction. Even in my perception, it has far surpassed the Nawaki. Tsunade couldn't help but gasp as she realized that the Yanagi in front of her had unfathomable potential. She began to re-examine Yanagi and had a new understanding of his abilities and potential. This powerful chakra not only showed Yanagi's extraordinary strength, but also foreshadowed his unlimited potential in the future. Yanagi will eventually become an existence that cannot be ignored. Tsunade smiled and suggested, to celebrate this special day, let's go taste some delicious barbecue together. When Yanagi and Nawaki thought of the fragrant barbecue, their saliva couldn't help but swirl in their mouths as they looked forward to the upcoming delicious feast. The early morning sunlight is like fine gold powder, sprinkling every inch of Konoha village, making this quiet village dazzling. Yanagi, full of anticipation for a new day, pulled his best friend Nawaki and eagerly set out on the journey to the ninja school. The school gate was already bustling with people, and the children's laughter was like the morning dew, fresh and full of energy. Their eyes sparkled with infinite longing for becoming ninjas, and they communicated with each other enthusiastically, as if they could already see themselves dominating the ninja world in the future. In this bustling crowd, some children gathered in twos and threes, laughing and playing, carefree. Some stood quietly aside, listening to their companions' words with focused eyes, as if absorbing the nutrients of knowledge, and there were also those young people full of ambition, rubbing their hands, eager to try, and an indomitable fighting spirit had already ignited in their hearts. Parents' figures were also looming in the crowd. They either spoke softly or earnestly, and their advice to their children was full of infinite care and expectations for their children's future. The architecture of the ninja school, with its unique style, highlights the profound cultural heritage of Konoha village. The campus is full of green trees and colorful flowers, creating a vibrant scene. The lush vegetation and the energetic figures of the children complement each other, together painting a picture full of vitality and hope. In this hopeful start of school season, the ninja school of Konoha village is filled with youthful vitality and passion. In everyone's heart, there is a dream of becoming a top ninja. They are preparing to meet new challenges and seize every opportunity for growth. After the passionate speech from the third Hokage, it was no surprise that Nawaki and Yanagi passed the entrance exam to the ninja school with ease. Although they are still young and their mastery of chakra is still in its infancy, and they have not yet received Tsunade's teachings on ninjutsu, they have been persistently training in taijutsu since childhood. In particular, Yanagi knew very well that the future of the ninja world would be full of crises. When chakra extraction was out of reach, physical skills were undoubtedly the best choice. Therefore, he paid special attention to physical training, especially the flexibility and agility of his fingers, and achieved some success. It can be said that he truly won at the starting line. Although it is harder to perform all kinds of ninjutsu with just a clap of his hands like the first Hokage, at least one can gain a slight advantage in the battle. After all, in a battle, every second is a matter of life and death. 1 second more or less can often mean the difference between life and death. When the two arrived at the classroom door, they secretly felt lucky to be assigned to the same class. When they walked into the classroom, Yanagi noticed that several classmates had already arrived. Among them, a black-haired boy wearing the Uchiha family emblem was particularly eye-catching. His eyes revealed an innate confidence and pride. And the girl with the Hyuga family's iconic Byakugan also attracted their attention. Uchiha and Hyuga, two famous families in the ninja world, their existence naturally made it impossible for Noeki and Yanagi to ignore. At this moment, the black-haired boy and the white-eyed girl seemed to sense the arrival of new classmates, and they turned to look at Noeki and Yanagi at the same time. However, after only a glance, they quickly withdrew their gazes, chose to sit down in an empty seat, and quietly waited for the teacher to appear. Chapter 4. After waiting for a while, the teacher finally came into the classroom. Yanagi stared at the teacher intently, trying to analyze some information from him in order to understand this future teacher. The teacher was a chunin from the Konoha ninja school. He looked to be in his 30s, of medium height, with a sturdy build, and well-defined muscles that showed off his agile and strong physique. He has neat short hair, combed neatly, his eyes are sharp, deep, and firm, as if he can see through the thoughts of every student. There are a few faint scars on his face, which are the marks left by the hardships he has experienced in the past years, and are also the symbols of his bravery, fearlessness, and perseverance. He always likes to wear the classic costumes of Konoha ninja, a tight-fitting black vest on the upper body, a pair of loose and comfortable grey trousers on the lower body, and a pair of light and convenient ninja boots on the feet. There was a belt around his slender waist, with various ninja tools hanging on it, such as shurikens, kunao, etc. In addition, his arms are also wrapped with protective sleeves, which shows that he attaches great importance to his physical fitness and has received strict and systematic training on a daily basis. The outward appearance of this chunin teacher not only reveals his rich experience and powerful strength, but also makes many students admire and even fear him. He looked around and found that all the students were present, then nodded with satisfaction. "My name is Sato Ichiro, and I will be your teacher from now on. You can call me Sato-sensei. Now please introduce yourselves." "I'll demonstrate. Ichiro Sato, your favorite food is barbecue, your dislike for food is natto, you like hard-working people and dislike lazy people. The future plan is to train more qualified ninjas to protect our village. Let's start with you." Yanagi saw the teacher pointing at him, so he stood up calmly. "My name is Yanagi, I don't have a last name. I don't have any favorite food ingredients, or rather, I like all delicious dishes, and I hate food that is not delicious. I like people who work hard to protect me, and I hate people who betray me. My dream is to fulfill my promise to Grandpa." "Wow, is there really someone who doesn't have a last name? Oh. I thought his last name was Liu. Look. He's so handsome. He's my type." Amid the noisy discussions of the crowd, only a few ninja students from the big families showed some surprise and cast their eyes towards Yanagi. The most special one was that the young man from the Uchiha family stared at him closely, as if he wanted to see through the secrets deep in his heart through his appearance. The descendants of these big families are well aware that in a place like Konoha village that emphasizes family inheritance, if a person does not have a surname, it may mean something. At this moment, this mysterious Yanagi naturally became the focus of everyone's attention. At this moment, Noeki, who was sitting next to him, suddenly stood up and said loudly in a voice full of vigor and vitality, "Hello everyone. My name is Noeki, and my favorite food is the delicious barbecue. For me, there is no such thing as food that I don't like to eat. The people I like are Grandma Mito, sister, and of course Yanagi. As for the people I hate, I haven't met them yet, haha." At this point, Noeki's face was filled with a bright smile, and with a determined light in his eyes, he continued, "My biggest dream is to become a great Hokage like my great-grandfather and second-grandfather. Then shoulder the responsibility of guarding Konoha village and protecting our common home." If Yanagi's speech made everyone feel confused and suspicious, then Noeki's speech was shocking. After all, this is the grandson of the Hokage. And he is also the first Hokage of Konohagakure, the famous ninja god in the ninja world. Although Ichiro Sato was mentally prepared, he still felt a little shocked when facing the grandson of the first and second generations. However, he was a chunin who had experienced many battles after all, and his psychological quality was still very strong. Then he signaled the class to remain quiet and continued with the self-introduction session. After many students had finished introducing themselves, the young man from the Uchiha family stood up with a blank expression. His eyes were as cold as ice, and he said his name in a stiff tone Uchiha-en, and said that he hated many things. Then, he declared without any reservation that his dream was to inherit the supreme glory of the Uchiha clan. As soon as he finished speaking, he stared at Noeki intently, and then sat down stiffly like a sculpture. Seeing this scene, Yanagi complained madly in his heart. "It's the Uchiha clan, they are all so cold and arrogant, and they are enemies with the Senju clan. No wonder Senju Tobirama called them the evil Uchiha. They caused constant friction with the village, and in the end, they were exterminated and their eyes gouged out by 2 filial sons. Before everyone had recovered from Uchiha Yan's shocking speech, the girl from the Hyuga family had already begun to introduce herself. I'm Hyuga Suzuran. I love quiet places and I don't hate anything. As for my dream, well, I hope to become a free-flying bird. As Hinata Suzuran finished her self-introduction, the atmosphere in the classroom became a little heavy. The internal conflicts of the Hyuga family and the fate of the branch family are a sensitive and complicated topic for the ninjas of Konoha village. When Yanagi heard this, he couldn't help but stare deeply at the girl's forehead covered by her bangs, and instantly understood the deep meaning of her words. Because for the Fen family, they were like birds trapped in a cage, losing their due freedom. The self-introduction session continued, and each student briefly introduced themselves. Some were humorous, some were calm and reserved, some were full of confidence, and some seemed a little nervous. Teacher Ichiro Sato listened attentively, nodding from time to time, his eyes sharp, as if he was evaluating the personality and potential of each student. When all the students had finished introducing themselves, Teacher Ichiro Sato stood up, looked around the classroom, and then spoke slowly. Very good, I have a preliminary understanding of everyone. From today on, we will spend the rest of our ninja training life together. I know that many of you have your own dreams and ambitions, but please remember that becoming a good ninja is not only for personal glory, but also to protect our village, our family, and friends. Drop. Chapter 5. Ding. Achievement achieved, become a student of ninja school. Reward, elementary 3 body techniques: transformation technique, substitution technique, and clone technique. After Yanagi chose to receive the reward, suddenly, a mysterious power surged into his mind. The hand seals and techniques of the 3 body technique emerged like a tide and merged with his mind. The knowledge became so familiar that it seemed as if he had already mastered it a long time ago and was just reawakening his memory. If he wasn't in class at the moment, Yanagi would have wanted to try this magical skill right away. He could feel that his body seemed to contain endless potential, just waiting to be released. However, reason told him that he had to be patient and not use it freely in class. Just then, after the self-introduction session, Mr. Sato walked up to the podium and began to explain the first lesson of the day: chakra extraction. For ninjas, chakra is undoubtedly the most critical source of energy. It is not only the cornerstone of performing various ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu, but also an important indicator of a ninja's strength. After all, the purpose of the ninja school is to train excellent ninjas for the village. Whether it is gorgeous and dazzling ninjutsu, or strong and powerful physical skills, or even treacherous and unpredictable illusions, they all rely on strong chakra as support. Only when you have enough chakra that you can freely control can you truly become an outstanding ninja. Therefore, learning how to extract and use chakra efficiently has become a compulsory course for every ninja student. After listening attentively for a while, Yanagi realized that compared to the knowledge taught by Tsunade, the content taught here seemed more simple and basic. Perhaps this is an adjustment made considering the majority of students who come from ordinary families. After all, those children from prominent families often have their own ninjas who are responsible for guiding them in advance to perceive and use chakra. This ensures that the learning progress of these children after entering the ninja school will not fall behind that of members of other families. As the bell for the end of get out of class rang suddenly, Ichiro Sato quickly packed up the things on the table like a startled bird, and then rushed out of the classroom like lightning. The originally quiet classroom suddenly became noisy, but the girls in the classroom did not seem to be affected. Their eyes were all focused on Yanagi, who was sitting in the corner. Outside the window, the sun is shining brightly, shining through the gaps in the leaves onto the windowsill, creating mottled light and shadows. The breeze blew gently, bringing bursts of floral fragrance, making people feel relaxed and happy. Yanagi had sharp eyebrows and starry eyes, a face as beautiful as a jade, and a faint smile on his lips. The sunlight shone on him through the window, as if covering him with a layer of golden light. Such a scene makes the girls feel amorous, and their eyes reveal irrepressible anticipation and curiosity. However, at this moment, a figure appeared beside Nawaki and Yanagi like a ghost. The person who came was Uchiha Yan. He looked at the 2 people in front of him with arrogance and said, "You must be from the Senju clan. Today I want to challenge you and let you know that our Uchiha clan is the strongest ninja family in Konoha village." However, Uchiha Yan's challenge broke the class noise. His voice echoed in the classroom, causing everyone to stop what they were doing and turn their attention to the upcoming duel. The air in the classroom seemed to freeze, leaving only the tense atmosphere between Uchiha and the two young men from the Senju clan. The sunlight shone through the window onto Uchiha Yan, stretching his shadow long and casting it on the classroom floor. Sitting by the window under the yanagi, the sunlight shines on his handsome face, adding a bit of mysterious charm to him. His eyes are firm, and the corners of his mouth are slightly raised, as if he is full of confidence in the upcoming challenge. Noeki stood aside, his brows furrowed, his eyes gleaming with an unyielding light. This challenge is not only a personal contest, but also a contest of the honor of two families. Uchiha Yan stood in the middle of the classroom, his figure looked particularly tall under the sunlight. His eyes revealed strong confidence and determination, as if he had seen the dawn of victory. Noeki and Yanagi looked at each other, and they both saw a hint of helplessness in each other's eyes. Uchiha Yan, don't go too far. Noeki's face darkened, this is a classroom, not a place for you to cause trouble. Humph, are you scared? Uchiha Yan said disdainfully, if you don't dare to accept the challenge, then admit that your Senju clan is inferior to our Uchiha clan. Okay, we accept your challenge. Yanagi said calmly, however, since it's a challenge, there has to be a bet. If you lose, apologize to me in front of everyone and admit that our Uchiha clan is the strongest. Uchiha Yan said proudly. What if you lose? Asked Noeki. I won't lose. Uchiha Yan said confidently. Arrogant. Noeki sneered, if you lose, you will bark like a dog 3 times. Okay, it's a deal. Uchiha Yan said gritting his teeth. He believed that he would not lose. Come on, let's go to the training ground and let me experience the power of you Uchiha. The students around began to whisper, some were excited, some were worried, and some were curious. They knew that this confrontation would become a major topic of discussion in the ninja school and might even affect the relationship between the two families. In the tense atmosphere, Yanagi and Noeki slowly stood up, walked out of the classroom with Uchiha and headed towards the training ground. In the sunshine, the 3 young men walked side by side, as if foreshadowing that a fierce contest was about to begin. On the training ground, the sun was shining and the breeze was blowing. The trees were lush and green, and the grass was dotted with colorful flowers. However, in this beautiful environment, a contest of honor and strength was about to take place. The 3 boys stood in the middle of the training ground, ready to begin their duel. The students around gathered around, some stood at a distance and watched, while others came closer, wanting to get a glimpse. They knew that this duel would be very exciting and might even become an unforgettable moment in their ninja career. In the sunlight, the 3 young men cast long shadows on the grass. They were ready to meet the upcoming challenge. The students around them held their breath, waiting for the showdown to begin. Chapter 6. When they heard that the descendants of the Senju and the Uchiha were going to make a bet on a duel, many students rushed to the first training ground. Even the teachers of the ninja school couldn't help but run over to watch the fun. But they are teachers after all, so they have to act like teachers, so they all hide and secretly become spectators. This is also the rule for teaching students to be ninjas. The protagonists of the duel have also taken their positions. 3 people stood facing each other in the middle of the field, all of them were about 6 or 7 years old, but coincidentally, Uchiha and Yanagi both had black hair and were handsome, while Noeki was a round-faced boy with short chestnut hair. If Yanagi didn't wear the Uchiha clan emblem, people might think he was a descendant of the Uchiha clan. But there is still a big difference between the two. Although Uchiha Yan looks handsome, he exudes a cold aura that keeps strangers away, while Yanagi gives people a feeling of comfort like a breeze caressing a willow, and makes people want to get close to him from the bottom of their hearts. Since I initiated the duel, you guys decide the order of fighting. I don't mind even if 2 of us fight together. I, Uchiha am different from you little brats who play ninja games. Hey, you Uchiha bastard, do you want to get beaten? How dare you look down on me? When Noeki heard the provocative words from the other side, he became angry and wanted to step forward immediately, but found himself being held back by Yanagi. As the saying goes, a lord should not raise an army in anger, and a general should not fight in anger. As ninjas, we must remain calm in the face of anything. Noeki, you are too impulsive. Let me do it this time. I will teach him a lesson. What did you say, master? General. I heard every word, but why can't I understand it when I put them together? Ha 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 ha. Noeke smiled awkwardly while scratching the back of his head. Forehead. Everyone present was shocked by Noeke's foolish behavior, and they complained from the bottom of their hearts, the grandson of the first and second generation masters is such a fool. Humph, it seems that the Senju is not completely defeated. Come on, let me see the power of the Senju of the forest. The two men stood still, waiting for Noeke to leave, and then both made opposing signs. After that, the two of them quickly retreated and distanced themselves from each other, and then in less than 3 seconds, both sides quickly shot out several shurikens. After a few clang 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 sounds, the shurikens from both sides were intercepted by the other side. Even though Yanagi had long known that shuriken throwing was a family specialty of the Uchiha clan, he had never expected that he would have to practice this technique for several years. The person opposite him is just a character who has never appeared in the original work, but he can actually compete with me. It seems that I still haven't let go of my pride as a time traveler. Little did he know that Uchiha Yan on the opposite side was even more shocked by this. After all, he was a well-known genius in the Uchiha clan, especially his ninja tool throwing ability was the best of his generation. But Yanagi on the opposite side was not weaker than himself in terms of angle or strength, and was even slightly stronger than himself. In this split second, both sides threw multiple ninja tools at each other again in an attempt to find the other's weakness. Ding ding clang clang. The sound of collisions caused by the shurikens blocking each other resounded throughout the entire training ground. Faced with the dazzling array of ninja tools thrown in the field, the surrounding spectators could not help but retreat silently, fearing that some ninja tool would fly out and poke them. The teacher of the ninja school in the woods couldn't help but sigh, the talents of these two brats are too terrifying. Their shuriken throwing skills are not inferior to those of official genin. Yes, they are worthy of being the Senju and Uchiha clan. Such a terrifying talent is truly amazing. Uchiha-en's shuriken? That's the Uchiha clan's unique throwing technique. Judging from the situation, Yanagi is probably in dire straits. Ichiro Sato sighed inwardly, but his feet were not idle either. He had already taken a step forward, ready to rescue Yanagi at any time. After all, both Uchiha-en and Yanagi are geniuses in the village and descendants of Senju and Uchiha. At this moment, someone from the crowd watching outside the venue suddenly exclaimed. Everyone looked intently and saw that half of the shurikens that were originally quietly floating on the field suddenly seemed to be given life and began to dance with extraordinary agility. In the blink of an eye, dozens of shurikens were like nimble dragons, changing their flight paths at an astonishing speed. Sometimes they flew left, sometimes right, sometimes soared into the sky, and sometimes dived down, like a giant airtight net, pressing down towards the willow without a single flaw. How is this possible? How on earth did they do this? Why did the shuriken move on its own? Noeke looked at everything that happened in front of him with astonishment on his face, and couldn't help but screamed, Yanagi! Be careful! At this moment, countless shurikens flashing with cold light flew towards Yanagi like a storm, but the strange thing was that these shurikens seemed to have life, automatically adjusting their flight trajectory and speed, making it impossible to avoid them. It's steel wire. Specially treated steel wire. They connect Uchiha-en's shuriken in series. If you don't look closely, it's really hard to discover this secret. This technique should only be mastered after awakening the Sharingan. Teacher Sato, who was standing by, had already come to Noeke's side. He stared at the battlefield with a serious expression. At the same time, he stretched out a hand and gently held down Noeke, who was about to rush into the battle circle. It's too dangerous, you can't go in. Don't worry, nothing will happen to Yanagi, I'll be there to rescue you at any time. After hearing what Sato-sensei said, Noeke slowly relaxed his body, but he was still worried about Yanagi. Yanagi was of course aware of the unique shuriken skills mastered by the Uchiha clan. He had been amazed when he watched Naruto. However, when he faced it personally, he deeply realized how difficult it was. The steel wires that controlled the shurikens had been specially treated to become extremely difficult to detect, and the throwing ninja tools he carried were almost used up. Fortunately, Uchiha Yan on the opposite side seemed to have just learned this move and obviously lacked control over it. While Yanagi was struggling to resist the shurikens flying up and down in the air, he was waiting for an opportunity to get closer to Uchiha Yan, trying to find his weakness. After all, physical skills are what Yanagi is best at this stage. Chapter 7. Uchiha Yan's forehead was covered with cold sweat. He clenched his hands tightly and tried hard to control the steel wire shuriken to stop Yanagi from approaching. His hands had begun to tremble slightly as he tried with difficulty to move backwards, trying to create some distance between him and Yanagi so that he would have enough space to use the kite tactic to defeat the opponent. Yanagi's expression was stern, and he stared at Uchiha Yan firmly, as if he could see through his intentions. Whenever Uchiha Yan tried to retreat, Yanagi would throw out the few remaining shurikens without hesitation. The shurikens would fly away like lightning with a fierce momentum, forcing Uchiha Yan to stop and use all his strength to control the shurikens to intercept. Uchiha Yan secretly groaned in his heart. He didn't expect Yanagi to be so difficult to deal with. He could actually see through his plan and take decisive countermeasures. The distance between him and Yanagi was getting closer and closer. He was unable to effectively intercept Yanagi, but he was still able to advance steadily step by step. Uchiha Yan felt a sense of powerlessness. However, he realized that he had to find a way to break this deadlock. At this moment, Yanagi suddenly stepped on the ground like an arrow from a bow, and with the help of a powerful reaction force, he rushed towards Uchiha Yan with an overwhelming momentum. His speed was as fast as lightning, making people dizzy. Uchiha Yan was caught off guard by Yanagi's fierce attack. However, he was a genius of the Uchiha clan after all, and with the rich experience gained from training with his clan members, he quickly came to his senses in just a moment, and immediately realized that this might be a great opportunity to defeat Yanagi in one fell swoop. So, Uchiha Yan forced himself to suppress his inner panic and nervousness and concentrated on the battle. He swung his arms rapidly, biting a sharp steel wire tightly in his mouth, and skillfully and deftly laid a series of intricate, insidious, and cunning traps in front of Yanagi, just like a cunning spider weaving a tight web and waiting for its prey to take the bait. The crowd watching the battle were all stunned at the thrilling battle in front of them, their hearts trembled, and beads of sweat appeared on their foreheads. They were all secretly worried about Yanagi, wondering how he would deal with such a strong enemy. Just when everyone was worried, Liamiya looked calm and composed, without showing any fear at all. He slowly pulled out a long sword from behind his back. As soon as the sword appeared, it attracted everyone's attention. The sword has a simple and elegant shape, and the lines of the sword are as natural and smooth as flowing clouds and water. The straight and sharp sword body reveals a chilling chill. The sword blade flashed with a cold light, like a cold moon hanging in the night sky, and it seemed that with just a slight swing, it could easily cut off everything in the world. The hilt of the sword is tightly wrapped with a circle of black rope, which is engraved with exquisite patterns. These patterns are intricate and mysterious, as if they contain endless mysteries. If you look closely, you can find some strange runes vaguely emerging between the patterns. They emit a faint light, adding a mysterious color to the whole sword. The entire sword body is a bright blood red hue, as if dyed with blood, which makes it particularly eye-catching. When Yanagi swung the Han sword, it circled and danced in the air like a nimble red dragon, drawing colorful arcs. The sword wind whistled past, accompanied by bursts of low sounds of wind and thunder, as if it was going to tear the entire space apart. This sword is simply the perfect combination of strength and beauty. It is not only an indestructible weapon, but also a unique work of art that makes people fall in love with it. All I heard was a sudden roar from Yanagi, while he made sword gestures with his left hand and wielded a long sword with his right hand, flying up and down and slashing left and right like a dragon. The shurikens that Uchiha Yan was trying to use to encircle him were all knocked away, and even several shurikens along with the steel wires wrapped around them were cut off and scattered all around. Clang clang! At this moment, Sato Ichiro looked sharp and swiftly threw out several senbon, accurately knocking down the flying shurikens one by one. At this time, in the field, Yanagi held a straight sword in his hand, and rushed towards Uchiha Yan like a storm, with great momentum and unstoppable. Seeing that the situation was not good, Uchiha Yan hurriedly drew out a kunao in a hurry, trying to resist Yanagi's fierce attack. Clang! Accompanied by a deafening crash, the kunao in Uchiha Yan's hand and the Han sword wielded by Yanagi collided suddenly, sparks flew and echoed throughout the venue. However, Yanagi's sword thrust was powerful and unstoppable, and coupled with the strong impact brought by the previous charge, its power was doubled. The defensive skills that Uchiha Yan used in a hurry were obviously unable to withstand such a fierce attack, and the kunao was knocked away in the blink of an eye. Yanagi did not stop in the face of this situation. His body turned closely following the sword, and he used the hilt of the sword to smash Uchiha Yan's chest hard. Boom! With a muffled sound, Uchiha Yan flew backwards like a kite with a broken string. At this moment, with a whoosh, a figure appeared as fast as lightning, just blocking Uchiha Yan's flying path. This person was none other than Mr. Sato Ichiro, who was hiding in the crowd. He caught Uchiha Yan steadily with smooth movements. Then, Sato Ichiro announced loudly without changing his expression, "The winner of this competition is Yanagi." His voice clearly announced to everyone that the outcome of the game was settled. The people around had already been deeply shocked by the thrilling battle before their eyes. They couldn't help but exclaim in amazement and gave warm cheers and applause without hesitation. Among this group of people, Nawaki was undoubtedly the most excited. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. It turned out to be Sato Ichiro who spoke. "In addition, I have one more thing to say. Yanagi, Nawaki and Uchiha-en, you three dared to duel privately without permission and damaged public facilities. Therefore, today's cleaning and clearing of the site will be completed by you." His tone was teasing, but unquestionable. "No. We are just passively accepting it, Mr. Sato." Nawaki immediately said aggrievedly, "And I don't even have a chance to play. Anyway, I'll leave everything to you. I'll take this guy to the infirmary first." After Sato finished speaking, he immediately used the technique of teleportation to leave, leaving behind only the laughing crowd and the helpless-looking Nawaki and Yanagi. Chapter 8. Hokage-sama. Elders. These are the details of the battle between Uchiha-en and Yanagi. In the Hokage's office, an ANBU member wearing an animal mask was kneeling on one knee respectfully, reporting the ins and outs of the incident to the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen and several elders of the Council of Elders. I saw this future highly respected old Hokage, who is now the third Hokage in his prime, the ninja hero Sarutobi Hiruzen, holding a pipe in his mouth and puffing smoke leisurely. After the ANBU member finished his report, he slowly exhaled a puff of smoke, then nodded to the ANBU member to show his approval, and waved his hand for him to leave. After the ANBU member left, Sarutobi Hiruzen relaxed in his chair, and glanced at the other three people present, Shimura Denzo, Mito Kato and Utane Koharu, and then asked, "What do you think about the conflict between Uchiha-en and Yanagi? Why not speak up?" Sarutobi. The Uchiha clan has always been an extremely dangerous clan. Just as Tobirama-sensei said, they are still the evil Uchiha clan. So I think we must strengthen the supervision of the Uchiha clan again. These things can be completely handed over to our root to handle, but the root now needs to infiltrate other ninja villages, and the pressure is very high. We also need more manpower, and the current route is still not enough." After hearing what the third Hokage said, Danzo immediately put forward what he had always advocated, to closely monitor the Uchiha clan and request to increase the number of root members again. After all, only the root is the power that he truly holds, and it is also the solid backing that guarantees that he will be able to ascend to the throne of Hokage in the future. He has always believed that Shimura Danzo will definitely become the first generation of Hokage of Konoha village. It was the teacher's mistake to choose Monkey as Hokage. When Sarutobi Hiruzen heard Danzo's old argument, he suddenly felt a headache coming over him. As soon as Danzo finished speaking, he quickly picked up his pipe and took a long drag, then slowly said, "Danzo. The Uchiha are the Uchiha in our village. They are our partners who fight alongside us, not our enemies. The Uchiha clan also has the will of burning fire." At this moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen had not yet experienced the stage of physical aging and decline in strength caused by the erosion of time, nor was he in the difficult time when the village's fighting power was lost and the fourth Hokage unfortunately passed away. He is now in the golden period of his life, full of energy and at the peak of his strength. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who is full of confidence in his own abilities, firmly believes that no matter what kind of crisis and challenge the village encounters, he can rely on his own strong strength to protect this land. Moreover, the village is currently full of talents and many new stars are shining. The three disciples he taught carefully, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade, have gradually risen, and their strength can no longer be ignored. In addition, elites from major ninja families such as Hitaki Sakumo are also beginning to emerge, and several members of the Elders' Council now possess powerful strength at the cage level. All of these made Sarutobi Hiruzen feel at ease. It was precisely because of such a solid force as a backing that he had enough confidence to tolerate and even forgive some small actions of the Uchiha clan and other families. Even if the Uchiha clan wants to rebel, it can be easily suppressed without damaging the foundation of the village. Hiruzen. We must not relax our surveillance and control over the Uchiha clan. As for the kid named Yanagi, he performed very well this time. In this battle, I felt the will of the root from him. I hope you can hand over the child to me for instruction. I will definitely train him into an excellent worker." Sarutobi Hiruzen interrupted Shimura Danzo's words without hesitation, stood up from his seat, and scolded Shimura Danzo with a solemn face and a stern voice. Danzo! Enough! Have you forgotten the will of fire? Yanagi is a descendant of the Senju clan. He is not only a clan member of our teacher, but also a genius of our Konoha village, a seedling under the light of fire. He is definitely not a tool to be manipulated by others. If he is handed over to you, how can we explain to Lord Mito? And I say it again, the Uchiha clan is our companions. They are the Uchiha of the village, not the enemy. But before Danzo Shimura could continue his argument, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly turned around, stood quietly in front of the window, took another deep puff of his pipe, his deep eyes staring intently at the Konoha village in the night before him, and slowly exhaled wisps of smoke. Danzo, is it because Jing has been away for too long that even you have forgotten the will of fire that the Uchiha clan possesses? This sentence exploded in the room like thunder in broad daylight. Not only Shimura Danzo, but even Midaman and Yutane Koharu, who had remained silent just now, could not help but fall into the distant memories that seemed like yesterday. The man named Uchiha Kagami was once the personal bodyguard of his teacher, the second Hokage, Senju Tobirama. He fought side by side with them, shared life and death with them, and solved many tasks and crises in the village. As an Uchiha, he always cared about the village. In the end, even the second Hokage Senju Tobirama highly recognized Uchiha Kagami's talent and will of fire. He was included in the guard group and taught by his side. It's a pity that God was jealous of his talent, which led to Uchiha Jing's untimely death. Otherwise, under his leadership, the Uchiha clan will definitely be able to truly integrate into the Konoha village, or at least greatly ease the conflict between the village and the Uchiha clan, instead of the embarrassing situation where the Uchiha clan can only become a village within a village as it is now. After a long silence, Danzo finally broke the silence. He said in a heavy tone, Kagami is Kagami. No matter what, he is just a small minority among many people. You should know very well in your heart that the village can never afford the risk of the Uchiha clan's rebellion. One day, you will regret this, Hiruzen. I am the Hokage. Don't forget your identity. Danzo. Hearing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes became even colder. He stared closely at his close friend whom he had known for many years. The tense atmosphere between the two seemed to be on the verge of breaking out, and the air was filled with a strong smell of gunpowder. Yutane Koharu and Mito Kado-en, who were standing by, noticed the argument between the two. After looking at each other, they decided to speak up to ease the tense atmosphere. Yutane Koharu said softly, Hiruzen, what Danzo said is not entirely unreasonable. The Uchiha clan is indeed full of too many variables. They are too dangerous. This is also what the teacher once emphasized. Midaman also agreed, but having said that, the young man named Yanagi is indeed a rare talent. Sarutobi nodded in agreement and said, what's even more valuable is that he looks at problems from a very unique perspective. A lord should not raise an army in anger, and a general should not fight in anger. It is rare to see such profound insights coming from a child. This child is undoubtedly a person with the talent to look at problems from the perspective of a shadow. Chapter 9. Who? After returning home, Yanagishita breathed a sigh of relief, opened his eyes, and happily received the reward for defeating Uchiha, the achievement of winning a duel for the first time. Ding, the achievement gift package has been sent. Bloodline is being purified. Purification completed. Instantly, Yanagi felt his body was full of strength, and the blood was happily rushing through his veins, as if it was about to burst through his skin. His muscle lines became more prominent. His breathing was steady and powerful, as if he could inhale more oxygen, and his whole body was full of energy. His five senses became sharper, and he could clearly feel the subtle changes in the surrounding environment, and the world became clearer. His eyes flashed with a clever light, as if he could see through everything. His body became lighter and his movements more agile. He could easily perform various complex movements that he could only do with difficulty before, and his body and brain worked together perfectly. Feeling the reward of this achievement, Yanagi's eyes sparkled with excitement and he could hardly hide the joy on his face. His heartbeat quickened, and he seemed to hear the cheers in his heart, and a smile appeared on his face. He couldn't help but immerse himself in this joy, quietly enjoying the happiness of the moment. After all, this was blood purification. As a descendant of the Thousand Hands, he knew the significance of blood purification. He couldn't wait to check his personal attributes. The system checks personal attributes. Name, Yanagi, Thousand-Armed Yanagi. Sex, Male. Age, 6 years old. Strength, a ninja student who has mastered some taijutsu and ninjutsu. Chakra attributes, water, earth, yang. Ninjutsu, basic ninjutsu. Special abilities, sage body, intermediate, wood release, unawakened, Otsutsuki bloodline, meager. Sure enough, the personal attribute panel has changed significantly. In addition to the level increase and the addition of a new display of mastered ninjutsu, the sage body in the special ability has been upgraded to the intermediate level. The most important thing is that the bloodline of the Otsutsuki clan appeared in the back. It's the Otsutsuki bloodline indeed. He murmured in a low voice, with a hint of excitement in his eyes. I didn't expect that the reward for this achievement would be so generous. He took a deep breath, feeling the power surging through his body. Now, the blood of the powerful Otsutsuki clan flows in his body. Although it only contains a thin amount of Otsutsuki blood power now, it is enough to support him to move towards a higher journey and grow into a more powerful existence. What's more, what about that surprising system reward bloodline purification? Since there was a first time, the second time would be a matter of time. Yanagi, I heard from Nawaka that you guys beat up those Uchiha brats today. That's great. Those red-eyed guys have been giving me a hard time. If I hadn't been concerned about the old man's face, I would have let them taste my super powerful fist a long time ago. Lu turned around subconsciously, and sure enough, it was Tsunade, the generous and casual person, walking towards him. Tsunade possesses powerful Yang attribute chakra and is naturally disliked by the Yin attribute Uchiha clan. Moreover, as the princess of the Senju clan, it is inevitable that Tsunade will have conflicts with the unruly Uchiha clan ninjas. Sister Tsunade, why are you here alone? Where's Nawaki? Yanagi couldn't help but feel a little surprised when he saw Tsunade coming alone. Because in the past, Tsunade would bring Nawaki with her, after all, they were of similar age, so they should get along better. Although maybe our protagonist actually prefers playing with big sister Tsunade. Tsunade smiled when she heard this and explained, he, originally, wanted to come along, but I saw that the house was a bit messy, so I asked him to stay home and help clean up your room. She had just said half of her words when she suddenly reached out and hugged Yanagi. Haven't we agreed long ago that you'd move in with us after a while? But you always make excuses, saying you want to spend a few more days with Uncle Taiki. Now school has started, have you packed your luggage, little brat? Today, Grandma Mito even scolded me for not being attentive enough. Tsunade said with a hint of sarcasm as she shook Yanagi's body. Well, almost there, it will be ready soon. Yanagi blushed and responded shyly. His eyes unconsciously fell on Tsunade's graceful figure, and he couldn't help but feel a strange feeling in his heart. Hey, little guy, are you shy? It seems that you have really grown up. Well, don't dawdle, Grandma Mito is still waiting for us. Tsunade teased with a smile, while letting go of Yanagi's hand and starting to pack her bags with him. After everything was packed up, Yanagi gently closed the door and clapped his hands, clasping them together as if to say goodbye to the house where he had spent many years. Grandpa Tei, I'm leaving. Standing outside the door, he took a deep breath, looked into the distance with a firm gaze, and swore secretly, Grandpa, please rest assured that I will work hard to realize your last wish. No matter how rough the road ahead is, I will not back down. Then he slowly turned around, with a bright smile on his face, staring at Tsunade, and said softly, Let's go, Sister Tsunade, tonight I will let you feast on the delicious food I cooked myself. I believe that Mito-san and Nawaki will be full of praise for my cooking skills. You know, when Grandpa Taiki was alive, he had a special liking for the food I cooked. When Tsunade heard this, a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes, and she responded excitedly, That's great. Today we have specially prepared a rich variety of ingredients, and we are waiting for you to show your skills. Her voice was full of anticipation and joy, as if she could already imagine the upcoming feast. Mito-san, long time no see. Yanagi soon met Uzumaki Mito, a woman with a legendary life. She was not only the princess of the Uzumaki clan, with an extraordinary talent in sealing techniques, she was also the wife of the god of ninja and the first Hokage of Konoha. She was also the first Jinchuriki of the tailed beasts, and the most powerful of the tailed beasts, the 9 tails. Her red hair was as bright as flames, tied into a bun, and she wore a crown-like ornament on her head, shining brightly. On her forehead, a purple diamond-shaped mark was embedded in it like a mysterious gem, emitting a charming light. There were magic talismans hanging on her two hair buns, fluttering in the wind, as if they contained endless spiritual power. She was wearing a white kimono, like a fairy descending from the earth, elegant and agile. The overall dress was unique and solemn, and time had not left any traces on her. "Yanagi, you are here," Mito said softly, looking at the young man in front of her with loving eyes. She reached out and gently stroked Yanagi's hair, as if this could give him some warmth and comfort. "The dead are gone, and the living are like this. I believe Tei will also be silently watching over you and protecting you in the underworld." Yanagi's thin shoulders trembled slightly, but he took a deep breath and tried to make himself look stronger. "I understand, Grandma Mito. I will work hard to live a good life and live a wonderful life of my own. And today I have specially prepared to show off my skills. I will use my new cooking skills to make a sumptuous dinner to reward you." Mito smiled with satisfaction when he heard that. "Oh? Then I'm really looking forward to seeing Yanagi's cooking skills. I remember Tei often told me that you have a talent for cooking." Speaking of this, Mito couldn't help but recall the little things he had experienced with Taiki, and a faint sadness welled up in his heart. However, when Mito saw Yanagi's energetic appearance, he felt very relieved. She knew that the child had gradually recovered from the pain of losing his loved ones and was facing the future life bravely. So she patted the back of Yanagi's hand and encouraged her, "Then let's look forward to the delicious food tonight. I hope we can bring a big surprise to Grandma." After saying that, she couldn't help but covered her face and laughed. So Yanagi went to the kitchen to get busy. He skillfully cut the pork, put it in the pan and fried it until golden brown, then added various seasonings and stewed a pot of fragrant braised pork. Tsunade and Grandma Mito were chatting in the living room, while Noeke was excitedly waiting for the delicious food to be cooked. After a while, Yanagi brought out plates of delicious food and placed them on the table. The braised pork has a bright red color and exudes an enticing aroma that makes people salivate. Tsunade and Grandma Mito praised Yanagi's cooking skills, and Noeke couldn't wait to pick up a piece of braised pork and put it in his mouth, eating until his mouth was full of oil. Everyone sat together, enjoying this warm moment with laughter and conversations interweaving and filling the whole room. This delicious dinner not only satisfied everyone's taste buds, but also brought warmth and comfort to their hearts. Chapter 10. Time flies, and just 2 years have passed in the blink of an eye. At this moment, in the spacious and quiet open space on the ninja school training ground, 2 young men were surrounded by people and confronting each other. 2 years have passed, and Uchiha Yan still refuses to give up challenging Lu Jun? It's obvious that he always ends up failing. People were whispering and talking. Looking closely, it was indeed Yanagi and Uchiha Yan standing in the center of the field. After 2 years of growth and hardship, they have both shed their youthful looks and become much more mature. Uchiha Yan's long flowing hair has now been cut into a neat short hair. On the other hand, Yanagi has grown her long black hair and tied it neatly behind her head with a hairband. When the breeze blew, the boy's soft hair danced in the wind. Many girls present witnessed this scene and couldn't help but feel ripples in their hearts. What a handsome man! Today's matchup: Uchiha Yan vs Yanagi. After Sensei Sato announced the start of the battle, he fired a 1,000 bones backhand shot directly into the small bell next to the training ground. Clang! As the bell rang, the tense atmosphere on the field instantly escalated to a peak. The 2 opponents simultaneously took stances, the seal of opposition. Uchiha Yan did not hesitate to use his most skilled and familiar tactic, shuriken opening. However, unlike before, this time he used 10 extremely sharp shurikens at once. Facing the fierce attack, Yanagi calmly drew out the red blood sword with his backhand and swung it at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, the flying shurikens were bounced away one after another. Uchiha Yan was not surprised by this. After all, 2 years ago, Yanagi had successfully resolved his attack with his superb shuriken throwing skills. Now, Uchiha Yan's technique has become more and more skillful, as graceful as playing a beautiful musical instrument. The shuriken in his hand is as obedient as a group of well-trained butterflies, flying flexibly and unpredictably. However, Uchiha Yan knew in his heart that this move alone might not be enough to defeat the powerful opponent in front of him. As expected, Yanagi's reaction speed was beyond the imagination of ordinary people. His hands danced rapidly in the air, and the speed of his seals was like lightning across the sky, which was dazzling. Each hand seal change was so precise and smooth, as if he had practiced this set of movements tens of thousands of times. Then, a low shout was heard, "Water escape! Water wall!" In the blink of an eye, a huge water wall rose from the ground and surrounded the surroundings tightly. No matter how sharp Uchiha En's shuriken was, it was difficult to penetrate the solid water wall defense line. Ahoy! Just as the water escape technique and water array wall gradually dissipated, suddenly, a gust of wind whistled past. It turned out that Yanagi had already used the technique of instant body movement and was approaching Uchiha Yan at an astonishing speed. Seeing this, Uchiha Yan did not show any weakness. He stomped his feet hard, and with the help of gravity and his own explosive power, he pounced towards the Yanagi like a tiger with a sharp sword in his hand. Ever since I lost to you in that physical contest 2 years ago, I have been practicing Uchiha swordsmanship day and night. Today, I will fight you again and make sure you can experience the true strength of our Uchiha clan. Before he finished speaking, 2 figures on the field crossed each other like lightning, with swords flashing continuously. The clanging sound was like the knocking sound coming from a blacksmith shop, deafening. It was a fight between dragons and tigers. In the blink of an eye, the 2 had fought for more than 10 rounds. However, in the midst of this thrilling battle, a cry of surprise suddenly came from the crowd. When everyone looked closely, they saw a figure flying backwards like a kite with a broken string, and it slid rapidly on the ground for dozens of meters before it barely stopped. I didn't expect you to put so much effort into this, Uchiha Yan. Uchiha Yan was half kneeling on the ground at this moment, his palms tightly grasping the long sword in his hands, and the sword body was deeply embedded in the soil. If he hadn't thrust his weapon into the ground in time to slow down, he would have probably lost his balance by now. How dare you laugh at me? That's too abominable. Watch out, fire style, great fireball technique. Uchiha Yan's face turned red with anger, his heart burning with rage, and he said through gritted teeth. I saw him quickly forming seals with his hands, his movements skillful and smooth, si wei shen hai wu yin. As his hand seal was completed, a powerful chakra instantly condensed in his palm. Immediately afterwards, Uchiha Yan opened his mouth and suddenly spit out a huge ball of flame. The ball of fire was like a burning meteorite, carrying with it scorching heat and violent energy, heading straight towards the Yanagi. In an instant, the entire space was illuminated, as if being in a sea of fire. Faced with such a ferocious attack, Yanagi remained calm and used his own ninjutsu calmly water style, water dragon bullet jutsu. His fingers danced quickly, forming a set of complex seals. It is really complex. Really, if you don't believe it, you can watch the fight between Zabuza and Kakashi in the animation. Of course, the second generation is very short, so let's keep it secret for now, right? As he finished the seals, the water around him quickly gathered together to form a huge stream of water. This stream of water was like a giant dragon rising into the sky, majestic and majestic. The water dragon and the fireball collided violently in mid-air, making a deafening noise that shook the earth. Although the fireball was fierce, it gradually lost its power under the impact of the water dragon and was finally extinguished. However, the water dragon did not stop moving forward, it still rushed towards Uchiha Yan at an astonishing speed. Seeing the water dragon getting closer and closer, Uchiha Yan's face changed drastically. He quickly dodged sideways, trying to avoid the water dragon's attack. But the water dragon was extremely fast and it was approaching in the blink of an eye. Uchiha Yan had no choice but to retreat quickly in order to avoid the attack range of the water style, water dragon bullet technique. Do not move. Suddenly, a soft whisper floated into Uchiha Yan's ears like a ghost. Then, a bone-chilling chill ran down his neck. He turned his head in astonishment, only to see a bright red sword flashing with cold light lying before his eyes. The person holding the hilt of the sword was Yanagi. It turned out that when Uchiha Yan was fully focused on dealing with the water vapor caused by the water dragon bullet technique and the great fireball technique, Yanagi took the opportunity to sneak behind him quietly. Seeing victory in sight, everyone thought that this fierce battle was about to come to an end. However, at this moment, with a muffled bang sound, Uchiha Yan suddenly turned into a ball of white mist and dissipated. It's the shadow clone technique. Someone exclaimed, but more people were puzzled. When was it performed? Why was there no sign? Just as the audience had no time to think about it carefully, a sharp kunai stabbed towards Yanagi from behind like lightning. Liamia's expression was as calm as water. He slightly tilted his body to easily avoid the attack, and then once again placed the long sword named Red Blood firmly on Uchiha Yan's neck. You lose. Yanagi sheathed his sword and spoke to Uchiha Yan with a calm look. Uchiha Yan's face was filled with resentment, his eyes wide open, and he said angrily, "Damn it! Just wait for me. I will be back. Next time, I will definitely defeat you. After saying that, Uchiha Yan's face was filled with anger. He angrily pushed away the crowd in front of him and strode away without looking back. Only many onlookers were left looking at each other in shock. Yanagi shook his head helplessly, forming a seal of reconciliation with his hands, and sighed softly, the Uchiha clan is still so stubborn. They are simply stubborn. After that, he turned around to thank Mr. Sato, and cast his eyes on Noeki who was still watching the fun on the side, and said with a smile, "Okay, Noeki, you must be hungry after watching the show for such a long time, right? Let's go home, I'll make you a sumptuous meal." Hearing the word feast, Noeki immediately smiled and shouted excitedly, "Great! I want to eat delicious fried chicken." For him, watching a play is fun, but it is obviously not as important as enjoying delicious food. Not long after, the two left the ninja school and returned to the Senjo clan together. As soon as they entered the door, they found several pairs of shoes neatly placed in the entrance hall. "Hey, could it be that the third-generation uncle and the others are here?" Noeki subconsciously touched his head and asked in confusion. After all, this is the land of the Senjo clan and also the residence of the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki Uzumaki Mito. Ordinary people are not qualified to set foot here. Except for the third Hokage and a few other people such as the elders, no one else could receive this honor. So many people came together today, and the two looked at each other, knowing that something important must have happened. Chapter 11. I'm back. It's Noeki and Yanagi who are back, come in. Mito Uzumaki's voice was heard from inside the house, but there seemed to be a violent fluctuation hidden in the calm voice. After they put on their indoor shoes, they pushed the door open and went inside. As soon as they entered, they felt the solemn atmosphere inside. It looks like something terrible must have happened. From the looks of it, it seems to be related to Grandma Mito, and it's not a good thing. Yanagi felt the depressing atmosphere around him and thought quietly in his heart. Uzumaki Mito sat in the upper seat, his face still as calm and measured as always. A careful observation revealed that Uzumaki Mito had just experienced a great emotional fluctuation. His hands were still clenched, his breathing was slightly faster than usual, and his mouth was tightly pursed. The most conspicuous among the lower-ranking people is the third Hokage who is wearing a Hokage robe. Beside him are 3 men and 1 woman, all of whom look middle-aged and are members of the Elders' Council. The one with a cross-shaped scar on his chin must be Nabekage Danzo Shimura, the fat man with a kind face is Akimichi Torikaze, the one with a hairpin is Utane Koharu, and the cold-faced man with glasses is Mito Kato-en. Noeki and Yanagi, it's been a long time since we last met. Do you still remember me? I am your uncle Kyufeng. Lord Mito, why don't you let these 2 children have a rest first? They must have been in the ninja school all day and must be exhausted after just returning home. Besides, these things are not suitable for these children to hear. Humph. No need for that. Noeki is my grandson. He is not only a descendant of the Senjo clan, but also a descendant of our Uzumaki clan. As for Yanagi, I have long regarded him as my own grandson. This is a good opportunity for them to see how you, who have inherited the will of Hashirama and Tobirama, have abandoned our allies in Konoha. When Mito heard Akimichi Tofu's words that tried to ease the atmosphere, he did not look at him and the other Konoha high-ranking officials in a good mood at all. Instead, his words were full of sarcasm. Konoha's ally. It sounds like it's related to Mito's grandmother, Noeki, and the land of whirlpools. It seems that only that matter could be like this. Since I didn't read the comics carefully before, and so many years have passed, the protagonist can't remember many of the plots in the original work clearly. Yanagi actually already had a rough idea in his mind. It seemed that something went wrong in the Uzumaki country. After all, the Uzumaki clan was too powerful, and the sealing technique they mastered eventually brought them disaster of genocide. Lord Mito. It's not that we are willing to give up the Uzumaki clan. It's just that the incident happened suddenly. The Hidden Mist village actually joined forces with other ninja villages to carry out a secret operation. Before we could send reinforcements, the hidden Uzashio village had already been breached. Udaten Koharu said sadly. Yes. Lord Mito, you know that Konoha can no longer withstand the war. All this is for the village. Shimura Danzo echoed. Don't say anything, it's my responsibility as the Hokage that our allies are in this situation. Sarutobi Hiruzen said as he turned to Uzumaki Mito Dogza, everyone should know Dogza, his face full of guilt and self-blame. Mito-sama, if you want to blame someone, Blame me. I, Sarutobi Hiruzen, am willing to take full responsibility. When the others saw the third Hokage admit his mistakes so sincerely, they all stood up and knelt before Uzumaki Mito. Lord Mito, this incident was caused by the unfavorable intelligence provided by our Council of Elders. Please punish us, Lord Mito, said one of the members of the Council of Elders. Uzumaki Mito looked at the group of people from Konoha village in front of her. Although she felt a little dissatisfied, she also understood that Konoha village was indeed facing tremendous pressure. She took a deep breath and said slowly, Monkey, you, forget it, it's useless to say more. I know you have your own difficulties. But I hope you can remember what happened today and never let something like this happen again. Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others felt relieved after hearing what Uzumaki Mito said. They nodded and said, Yes, Mito-sama, we will definitely keep your teachings in mind. Mito-sama. That child will come to Konoha soon. What do you think we should do? Uzumaki Kushina, send her to me. I will raise her. You don't need to worry about the rest. After hearing what Mito said, Danzo Shimura and others wanted to talk but stopped themselves. However, looking at Uzumaki Mito's lingering anger, they nodded helplessly, expressed their agreement, and then left. Grandma, the Whirlpool Country. What happened to the Whirlpool Country? My uncle and the others. After Nawake waited until Sande and the others went out, he immediately asked anxiously, but when he saw Mito's sad expression, he already understood everything. Mito held the two of them in her arms, gently stroked their heads, and slowly said, Grandma should have gone to see your grandfather a long time ago, but Grandma has been worried about you. This time it's Grandma's home that is lost, what will we lose next time? I just hope you can grow up healthy. Mito's voice was filled with endless sadness and helplessness. A few days later, Nawake and Yanagi returned home and saw a little girl with red hair standing next to Grandma Uzumaki Mito. At this moment, Mito was gently stroking her hair, with a hint of kindness in his eyes. Kushina, these two are your brothers. The round-faced one is Nawake, and the other one is Yanagi. They are my most beloved grandchildren. You also have a sister named Tsunade, who is now on a mission outside and will be back in a few days. Don't worry, from today on, this is your warm home, and we will all be your family members protecting you. After hearing these words, Uzumaki Kushina timidly raised her head and greeted her two brothers in a soft voice, Brother Nawake, Brother Yanagi, hello, I am Uzumaki Kushina. As soon as she finished speaking, she quickly lowered her head. She was completely different from the lively, cute and cheerful Uzumaki Kushina in Yanagi's memory. Obviously, that brutal war of genocide brought unbearable trauma to the child. It makes sense. Overnight, all the familiar relatives were killed, and I was taken to a completely unfamiliar village by ninjas I had never met before. In this strange land, perhaps the only person who could give her some comfort was Grandma Mito, who was also a member of the Uzumaki clan. Thinking of this, Yanagi couldn't help but feel pity and gently touched Kushina's little head. Hello, Sister Kushina, from today on, we are a family. Don't worry, I am here, I will definitely protect you. Your red hair is very beautiful. Just like Grandma Mito. Nawake also echoed loudly beside him, yes, Sister Kushina, if someone dares to bully you in the future, just tell me and I will give him a good beating. Oh, and your brother Yanagi, he is a cooking expert. How about letting him show you his cooking skills tonight and cook you a delicious meal? After listening to her two brothers' words, Uzumaki Kushina gradually felt relieved. Especially when she heard Yanagi praise her beautiful red hair, she was extremely happy. You know, on the way to Konoha, she heard a lot of people pointing and making weird remarks about her hair color. Being recognized by Yanagi at this moment made her feel very warm. Thank you, Brother Yanagi, and Brother Nawake, thank you so much. Uzumaki Kushina said happily. She was already looking forward to what kind of delicious food Yanagi brother would cook for her in the evening. Yanagi looked at the cute and innocent little sister in front of him, his heart was filled with pity and love. He secretly vowed to take good care of her and let her feel the warmth of family. Chapter 12. Inside the Senju clan's territory, Yanagi was conscientiously tidying up Uzumaki Kushina's clothes and combing her bright red hair. At this moment, Nawake's urging voice came from the door, it's time to set off. Yanagi and Kushina. You're going to be late for school. Hearing this, Yanagi sped up his movements and quickly completed the final tidying up. He looked at Kushina in the mirror, nodded with satisfaction, and said with a smile, "Okay. Kushina is still a beautiful little princess today." After hearing this, Kushina's face flushed and she lowered her head embarrassedly. "Thank you, brother Yanagi." Then, she and Yanagi walked out of the room together. "Yanagi, you're too slow. I've been waiting outside for a long time." As soon as Noeka saw them come out, he couldn't wait to start complaining to Yanagi. "I'm sorry, brother Noeka, it's all because of me." Kushina lowered her head embarrassedly again, and Yanagi looked at Noeka speechlessly. "What do you know, you rough guy?" "Ah, it's okay, ha 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 ha, Kushina doesn't blame you, it's all because Yanagi is so slow. Let's go, today is your first day of school. Of course you have to look beautiful." Yanagi rolled his eyes at Noeki and smiled slightly, then took Kushina's hand and comforted her. "Okay, we are here, aren't we? Today is Kushina's first day of school, so you can't be late." After that, the three of them walked towards the school together. Along the way, the sun was shining brightly and the breeze was blowing, making people feel particularly comfortable. Yanagi and Noeka chatted while walking, while Kushina quietly held Yanagi's hand and enjoyed this beautiful time. The group soon arrived at the school. Along the way, they met many classmates. Noeka greeted everyone enthusiastically and introduced his sister to them. In stark contrast to Yanagi's quiet, introverted handsome image, Noeka has always been a lively, cheerful, humorous, and funny character, so he gets along better with his classmates. However, in terms of popularity among girls, Yanagi is far better than Noeka. After all, who wouldn't like a beautiful boy like Yanagi who is both gentle and handsome, powerful but quiet? The boys just looked at the red-haired girl curiously, while the girls had already begun to feel envy and jealous. "Ah! Why can't she hold Lu Jun's hand? I want to, too. Real name +1. I also want to." A tough guy even mixed in. Uzumaki Kushina was being stared at by so many people, and she soon felt a little uncomfortable. Especially under the blazing gazes of the girls, she was even a little scared. So, she chose to get closer to her beloved brother Yanagi. As for why she didn't choose Noeki? Come on, since there is such a perfect person like Yanagi, why would she choose a straight man like Noeki? After telling Kushina a few words, the three of them separated and prepared to go to the classroom. Yanagi looked at Kushina's back as she walked away, and suddenly, as if he remembered something important, he quickly formed seals with his hands. Shadow clone technique. "Oh!" As he whispered, a figure that looked exactly like him appeared beside him. Yanagi turned to look at Noeki, scratched his head and said, "Sorry, Noeki, I have something to deal with today, so let this shadow clone accompany you to class." "Hey! Yanagi, what's going on? Why are you so anxious? Hey! Wait for me, take me with you." Noeka shouted in confusion, but Yanagi had already run far away, leaving only a sheik back behind. At this moment, Yanagi's heart was burning with the fire of sister control. He thought of those hateful brats in the original animation, who dared to bully his lovely sister Kushina. When he thought of this, Yanagi clenched his fists tightly, and he wanted to rush into the classroom and beat those guys up. Of course, there was also that blonde kid, who was indifferent when he saw others being bullied, and was even grinning at the side. It really made people more angry. "You better be sensible this time, otherwise I will make you pay." With the power of sarcasm, Yanagi quickly came to the big tree outside Kushina's classroom. He stood still and began to observe the situation in the classroom carefully. Well, it was actually the power of sister control that was at work. "Classmates! Be quiet, there is a new student in our A class today. Kushina-san, please introduce yourself." Kushina was a little nervous facing the unfamiliar environment, but she still took a deep breath and prepared to open her mouth to introduce herself. However, at this moment, she noticed that several people around her were pointing at her red hair. This made her feel annoyed, so she unconsciously raised her voice and shouted, "I am Uzumaki Kushina, wow!" As soon as she said this, Kushina immediately realized that she had said her usual catchphrase because she was angry, and she couldn't help but cover her mouth in embarrassment. However, when she saw that her classmates still hadn't changed their attitude, the anger in her heart burned even more. "I am the one who will become the first female Hokage of this village," she declared loudly, her tone firm and powerful. There was an uproar in the classroom and the students began to talk about it. Just as everyone was making a lot of noise, a handsome young man with golden hair and a sunny smile on his face stood up. I also want to become an outstanding Hokage recognized by the villagers. His voice was clear and loud, as if conveying a determination and belief to everyone. Seeing the scene in front of him, Yanagi, who was standing outside the window, was so angry that he didn't even bother to curse the impolite little guys just now. It turned out that this person was Minato Namikaze. Well, you little brat, you never come out to stop the bullies, and you sneak in again. You know, this is the largest village in the ninja world. How could someone kidnap the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki in the village without anyone noticing? If you use your brain a little, you can guess that there must be some conspiracy behind this. Even if Minato is unaware, there must be some conspiracy behind this. They don't care about the physical and mental health of the Jinchuriki at all, and they only know how to use the so-called bonds to restrain others every day. These hateful old men are so bad, one day they will make you pay. At this moment, Minato, who was expressing his dream to the red-haired girl he loved, suddenly felt a strong malice. At the same time, the third Hokage, who was observing Kushina with the telescope technique, couldn't help but shudder. I'll call you Tomato from now on. Ha ha ha. A chubby round face with red hair. Ha 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 ha, it's definitely a tomato. How can a tomato become Hokage? Ha 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 ha. As soon as the bell rang, several kids surrounded Kushina, pointing and making fun of her. One of them even tried to grab Kushina's red hair, but Minato stood there indifferent, watching the show. Seeing this, Yanagi was about to teach those ignorant brats a lesson, so that they could feel the iron fist of sister control, but she saw that Kushina did not let the other party grab her hair as easily as in the original animation. Instead, she quickly slapped away the hand that was stretched out. Only my brother can touch my red hair. And who are you calling tomato? You bunch of ugly bastards! Kushina shouted angrily, waving her fists and beating the group of little brats away one by one. If anyone dares to call me tomato again, I will never let him go. Kushina widened her eyes and warned. Yanagi secretly applauded in her heart, well said. We should use heavy hands and beat them up. She suddenly looked at Minato Namikaze, who had been eating melons nearby, and said viciously, what's so funny? This sentence scared Minato so much that he turned around immediately and didn't dare to look at her again. Yanagi was secretly happy in his heart, well done, girl. I'll give you a snack tonight. At this point, the blood-red chili pepper, known for its bad temper and feared by everyone, finally made its grand appearance. Chapter 13. Hey! Did you hear? Today, a chilly girl with flying hair beat up a group of classmates so badly that they ran away in a panic. It was so funny, ha 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 ha. She was just as violent as Tsunade's sister. As soon as Noeki entered the house, he couldn't wait to share this interesting story with Yanagi, completely unaware that Tsunade next to him had begun staring at him with an unfriendly look. Tsunade had just returned to the village after completing her mission when she heard the bad news about the land of whirlpools. After all, the Uzumaki clan was her grandmother's hometown, but the village had actually left it alone and she had no time to settle accounts with the third old man. She was so angry that she had no place to vent, and her younger brother was talking nonsense here. Hey, Noeki! You little brat! Are you itching for trouble? I've only been away for a few days, and you're already saying bad things about me behind my back. Just wait and see how I'll deal with you. Korra! With an angry shout, Tsunade directly took action to teach Noeki a lesson. Looking at the Noeki who was beaten so hard that he could only squat in the corner and tremble, Uzumaki Kushina couldn't help but laugh out loud, ha ha ha. Kushina, right? Hello, I'm Tsunade. You can just call me Sister Tsunade. Grandma should have mentioned me to you. Tsunade greeted Uzumaki Kushina with a smile on her face. Hello, Sister Tsunade. Uzumaki Kushina quickly responded. Having witnessed the tragic experience that Noeki had just experienced, she did not dare to anger the beautiful and ruthless big sister in front of her. You guys go train first, I'm going to go find Grandma to find out some things. Tsunade rubbed the hair of several people vigorously, then stared at Kushina's flaming red hair for a long time. Finally, she said goodbye to them, turned and walked into the house to look for Uzumaki Mito. Brother Yanagi, doesn't Sister Tsunade like my red hair? Uzumaki Kushina was extremely sensitive to people staring at her red hair. How could that be? Our Kushina's red hair is so beautiful, it sparkles like a ruby. And Grandma Mito also has red hair. Sister Tsunade is just a little distressed about other things recently, it has nothing to do with you. Yanagi hurriedly comforted. Really? Kushina was still a little skeptical. Of course it's true. If you don't believe me, ask the Noeki. Yanagi pointed to the Noeki next to him. Yes, yes, Sister Tsunade is definitely not looking at your hair because she hates you. Noeki also echoed. Okay. Kushina was relieved a little, but she couldn't help but glance at the door, as if she was expecting Tsunade to come back soon. Okay, don't think too much. Noeki, stop squatting. Let's start today's training. Yanagi clapped his hands and called the two to go to the training ground. Several people came to the Senju clan's training ground where they usually came. Yanagi was about to take Noeki and Kushina to practice their physical skills as usual. Suddenly, I heard a shout from far away, "Brother, it was that red-haired tomato who bullied me. He made me look bad in front of the girls in my class." Yanagi looked in the direction of the voice and saw that it was one of the kids that Kushina had taught a lesson today. It looked like he and his brother were training nearby and happened to run into them. "Hey, you tomato, how dare you bully my brother? I'm going to teach you a lesson today on behalf of your family." Before Kushina could step forward to explain that it was her brother who bullied her first, Yanagi had already stopped him and took the lead in rushing forward to confront him. Yanagi said with a serious face, "First of all, it was your brother who bullied my sister first, you should ask him to apologize to my sister. Secondly, this is our Qianshao clan's training ground, you are not qualified to set foot here. Get out of my sight right now." His tone was firm and revealed an unquestionable majesty. "What Senju clan? They no longer exist. You little brat, listen to me. I am a righteous ninja from the Shimura clan. Shimura Danzo is my third uncle." Before he finished his words, the man pounced towards the Yanagi like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey, attempting to launch a sneak attack. However, Yanagi's reaction was extremely quick, and he dodged the opponent's attack easily with a flash of his body. Then, he quickly launched a fierce elbow strike, accurately hitting the ninja who claimed to be from the Shimura clan, and knocked him to the ground. Yanagi took advantage of the situation and stepped on the enemy who was still trying to get up after falling to the ground, with a hint of disdain in his eyes. "With your lowly abilities, do you think you can be called a ninja? This is simply laughable." At this moment, another kid who had witnessed his brother being subdued in an instant and was about to take the opportunity to escape was grabbed by the neck by Noeki at lightning speed and lifted up like a chicken. "Hey, you little brat, you actually dare to bully Sister Kushina. Don't you know that she has my support? Kushina, what do you say we should do with this little bastard?" "Kushina." Noeki turned to look at Uzumaki Kushina, only to find that she was lowering her head, her hands tightly covering her mouth, her face flushed, and a lot of hot air continued to come out of her head. "Steam Princess! It's over! It's over! How did Yanagi know what happened? Did he see it today? Then everyone must have seen me beating up my classmates today. Wow!" Thinking of this, Kushina felt panic in her heart and her body began to tremble involuntarily. She shook her head and complained inwardly, "What should I do? Brother Yanagi won't misunderstand me, will he?" At this time, Noeki was completely unaware of the turmoil in Uzumaki Kushina's heart. He looked at Kushina who was suddenly holding her head and shaking wildly, and couldn't help but feel very strange. He asked quickly, "Ah, Kushina, is there something wrong with your head? Do you need to see a doctor?" Hearing Noeki's question, Uzumaki Kushina's shaking became even more violent. She thought to herself, "Wow, this is bad, Brother Yanagi must think I'm a weird person." Just then, Yanagi next to her finally saw the clue. Of course he understood that the reason why Kushina was so shy and nervous was because his previous words had inadvertently exposed his own secret. So, when Yanagi was about to rush forward to comfort Kushina, lest she really burn out her CPU due to excessive nervousness, he sensed another chakra approaching. "It's really lively in our Senju clan today. Little blonde hedgehog over there, come out, I've seen you. Senior Yanagishita, and Senior Noeki, hello. I am Minato Namikaze." Minato Namikaze jumped lightly from a big tree next to him, then bowed respectfully to the people in front of him, scratched the back of his head and greeted them. "You're the sissy who was watching the show in class today." Uzumaki Kushina was frightened and forgot to be shy at this moment, but accidentally said her true thoughts. When she realized she had said the wrong thing, she quickly covered her mouth with her hands in embarrassment. "Do you know me?" Yanagi was a little surprised. "Yes. I watched the battle between you and Uchiha-en in the training ground a few days ago. The scene was so exciting. It made my blood boil and my heart surge. Moreover, through this battle, I also learned a lot. It can be said that I benefited a lot. Namikaze Minato said excitedly. Let's put that aside for now. Why did you come here today? Namikaze Minato was embarrassed to answer. He couldn't say that he followed Kushina because he liked her so much. He would be beaten to death as a hooligan. Forget it, we have to start training. If you are okay, go back first. Chapter 14. What? You want to learn psychic ninjutsu? You are too young now. Wait until you graduate from the ninja school before considering this matter. Tsunade, who had just enjoyed a sumptuous dinner, was now lying on the sofa without any ladylike image, and seemed to be still savoring the taste of the delicious roast chicken on the dinner table. However, Yanagi's next request shocked her so much that she almost jumped up from the sofa. Although this little guy has made rapid progress in the past 2 years, it is too early for him to learn psychic ninjutsu now. Sister Tsunade, I am not a child anymore. If I were in my grandfather's generation, I would have been able to go to the battlefield long ago. And brother Yanagi is super powerful. He easily took care of the ninja that was causing trouble for us today. Uzumaki Kushina also echoed. Yes, yes, Yanagi is very good. No one in our class can match him. Noeka said vaguely while chewing a watermelon. Ninja? What's going on? How could a ninja dare to cause trouble for you in Konoha village? Tsunade asked seriously. What? The Shimura clan is so arrogant. How dare they bully my people? Look, I'm going to teach them a lesson. Tsunade waved her clenched fists in anger. She couldn't tolerate anyone daring to bully her brothers and sisters. This was simply a provocation and insult to her. However, just as Tsunade was about to leave in anger, Yanagi quickly grabbed her arm and held her tightly, fearing that she would take the opportunity to slip away. Yanagi knew Tsunade's personality very well. If he didn't seize the opportunity quickly, once Tsunade left, she would probably hide somewhere to drink and gamble, and it would be difficult to find her at that time. Good children should not drink and gamble. Sister Tsunade, don't be anxious. These are just minor issues, we have the ability to solve them ourselves. But before that, please promise to teach me psychic ninjutsu. Yanagi said eagerly, his eyes firm and persistent. Tsunade is a signatory of the Whetbone Forest. Yanagi has been craving for it for a long time, and his own wood release is still waiting to be unlocked in the 3 holy places. The 3 holy places: Whetbone Forest, Myaboku Mountain, and Ryokai Cave. I must pass Ryokai Cave first, I don't want to risk being eaten by a snake. Myaboku Mountain and Whetbone Forest will of course give priority to those with long-term contracts with the Senju family. Do you understand, my own people? If it doesn't work, I'll go and fool that old perverted immortal. Tsunade looked at Yanagi's sincere eyes, and her heart softened. So after a little thought, she also wanted to test Yanagi's strength, so she proposed a condition. How about this? If you can survive an incense stick of time in my hands, I will recognize your strength and teach you the summoning technique. What do you think? Yanagi nodded fearlessly in the face of Tsunade's test, indicating his willingness to accept the challenge. He knew that this was a rare opportunity, and he also wanted to see how far he was from the cage level. A fierce battle is about to begin. Can Yanagi successfully pass Tsunade's test? Let's wait and see. No way. The few of them took firm steps and headed towards the training ground. Noeki and Uzumaki Kushina followed closely. Along the way, Uzumaki Kushina's heart was filled with tension and anticipation. Brother Noeki, do you think Brother Yanagi can pass Sister Tsunade's test? Uzumaki Kushina couldn't help but ask, her voice trembling slightly. Her understanding of Sister Tsunade was limited to the violent behavior she witnessed when they first met, but she knew nothing about Sister Tsunade's true strength. After thinking for a moment, Noeka said, well, it's hard to say. My sister is a very powerful person, but Yanagi is also very strong. Every time I train with him, I am beaten without any chance to fight back. But my sister will definitely not hurt him, let's see what happens. Hearing what Noeka said, Uzumaki Kushina breathed a sigh of relief. She had an inexplicable trust in Yanagi brother and firmly believed that he would be able to overcome any difficulties. Time passed by minute, and finally they arrived at the center of the training ground. Yanagi stood quietly, adjusting his breathing rhythm. He slowly drew out the red blood sword from his waist, the blade flashing with cold light, the tip of the sword pointed diagonally at the ground. His eyes were focused and sharp, staring at Tsunade in front of him. Tsunade folded her arms and stood there straight. The night wind blew through her hair and blew up the fallen leaves on the ground. The atmosphere was extremely tense, as if a life and death duel was about to begin. Yanagi took a deep breath and cleared his mind of distractions. He concentrated on feeling the changes in the airflow around him, preparing to meet Tsunade's attack. Tsunade had a blank expression on her face, but her eyes revealed a kind of majesty and confidence. She had made full preparations and was waiting for the challenge of her opponent. "Come on. Let me see how you grow," Tsunade said with anticipation in her eyes. "I won't let you down, Sister Tsunade," Yanagi responded confidently. He gripped the hilt of the sword tightly with his right hand and raised a seal of opposition with his left hand. The seal of opposition? Oh, this is really troublesome. Although Tsunade was complaining, there was no hesitation in her actions, and she also quickly made the seal of opposition. Yanagi launched the attack without hesitation, throwing more than a dozen shurikens at Tsunade at a very fast speed. These shurikens collided with each other in mid-air, making a crisp metal collision sound, and thus changed their original trajectory, forming a double-teaming trend against Tsunade. Is this kid from our Senju clan or the Uchiha clan? The strength, speed, and angle of his shuriken throwing are perfect. However, for the real strong ones, ninja tools are nothing more than toys in their hands. Tsunade exclaimed in her heart. Boom! The shuriken was blown away by Tsunade's chakra burst. Tsunade quickly rushed towards Yanagi and threw a powerful punch straight at Yanagi. So fast! Yanagi was unable to dodge and could only hold the red blood tightly, trying to use his weapon to withstand the attack, but he still underestimated Tsunade's extraordinary strength and was knocked away by the attack, flying into the woods more than 10 meters away. Kid! Is that all you're capable of? I haven't had enough fun yet. Tsunade did not pursue him, but stood still with her arms folded again. Water escape. Water dragon bullet technique. I saw a mighty water dragon flying out from the dark forest and rushing towards Tsunade. Tsunade was quick-eyed and quick-handed, and punched the water dragon with super powerful punch. Before she could change her strength, Yanagixiya had already rushed in front of her with the red blood sword in his hand and stabbed Tsunade in the abdomen. Tsunade's body suddenly turned, and the sword blade brushed past her waist, cutting through her clothes, revealing her snow-white skin hidden underneath. Yanagi's expression remained unchanged, and the sword turned and rushed forward, going straight to her vital point. Yanagi's continuous attacks made Tsunade feel very frustrated, and it seemed that her strange strength had nowhere to be exerted. But Tsunade was worthy of being the future Sunin, and kicked Yanagi away in the gap. Good. My blood is boiling. Watch out. It hurts like hell. Tsunade soared into the sky and kicked towards Yanagi. Yanagi only felt a gust of wind pressure, as if facing an ancient beast. Boom! Noeki and Uzumaki Kushina only felt the ground shaking, and looked nervously into the field. There was only a large pit of more than 1 meter left on the ground where Yanagi was before. When the smoke dissipated, Tsunade was seen standing alone in the pit. That was just a shadow clone, so where is the real one? Up there. Sure enough, when Tsunade looked up, she saw a domineering water dragon coming towards her. Weird punch. Sure enough, this ninjutsu can't cause any harm to Sister Tsunade. Is this the power of a cage? I still lack the means to break her defense. It seems that I can only use that one move. Where are you looking at? How dare you be distracted while fighting me? Yanagi hurriedly dodged backwards, only to see Tsunade punching in front of him, causing the ground to crack again. Yanagi only felt a shake, and while he was still trying to stabilize his body, Tsunade attacked him with another painful kick. Oh! It's the shadow clone technique again. How many clones did this guy create? Tsunade was complaining in her heart, can he have a real manly duel with her? Chapter 15. Yanagi felt Tsunade's irritability, this was one of his plans. After all, the two were just sparring, which had greatly limited Tsunade's strength. After all, Tsunade's destructive power was truly amazing, and Tsunade was a careless and impatient person. Using shadow clones to consume her patience was indeed very effective. If I just want to pass this test, I can just keep going at this pace, but do I really want to give up this opportunity to challenge my limits with all my strength? Yanagi looked up at the sky in confusion. This was just a sparring match, and Tsunade would definitely not use heavy hands. And as he and Naruto were about to graduate, the war was about to come. Naruto was going to the battlefield after graduation and died in the war. Thinking of this, Yanagi was no longer confused and walked out of the woods steadily. If you want to wear the crown, you must bear its weight. If you want to hold the rose, you must bear its pain. If you want to become the strongest ninja, sooner or later you will have to fight your way out of the mountains of swords and seas of fire, and the mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Uchiha Madara, Senju Hashirama, Uzumaki Naruto, and Uchiha Sasuke, although they are all reincarnations of Ashura and Indra's chakras, the first two survived the family fighting in the chaotic warring states period since childhood. Although the latter two also suffered hardships since childhood, it was still child's play compared to the former. Oh! You came out on your own and finally chose to face me. Yanagi, you are great. Mito Uzumaki silently watched the young man gradually walking out of the forest from a distance. Very much like. Hashirama, looking at Yanagi now is like seeing you yesterday. You were so confident back then. It's been a long time since I last saw you. A long time. But I will be reunited with you soon. Very soon. None of the people in the field paid any attention to Mito in the back, and they devoted themselves fully to this peak battle. Yanagi sheathed his sword, and his legs darted away like lightning, rushing to Tsunade in the blink of an eye. He leaned over, and saw a flash of blood, followed by a gust of wind like sword slash, hitting the vital point. Good boy, it's still not fast enough. Tsunade laughed several times, quickly wrapped her arms with chakra, and crossed them across her chest, blocking Yanagi's sword attack. The two collided, stirring up a strong wave of air. Yanagi remained calm, turned his wrist instantly, danced out a sword flower, held the sword in reverse, and stabbed directly at Tsunade's defensive loophole. Tsunade did not dare to slack off, and quickly used her defensive arm to quickly side-hit the red blood sword, trying to knock it off course. However, Yanagi's movements were extremely agile, and he twisted his body to avoid Tsunade's attack, and immediately launched another powerful attack. Seeing this, Tsunade suddenly exerted force with her other hand and knocked Yanagi away. However, Yanagi skillfully used special force dissipating techniques to successfully neutralize Tsunade's tremendous power. In the air, he turned his body flexibly and landed steadily. There was a hint of surprise in Tsunade's eyes, but she did not stop her attack. She quickly adjusted her posture and prepared to launch another attack. Yanagi watched Tsunade's every move intently, looking for an opportunity to counterattack. The time is almost up, I have to get serious. Tsunade moved her wrists, and the joints made crackling sounds, as if she was demonstrating to her opponent. Her eyes became focused and sharp, exuding a powerful aura. All of this was keenly captured by Yanagi on the opposite side. His perception ability instantly increased to the extreme. He gripped the sword in his hand tighter and entered a state of high alert. At this moment, Tsunade disappeared from Yanagi's sight like a ghost. Yanagi's pupils suddenly contracted, and a strong sense of crisis surged in his heart. He immediately concentrated and used his perception to the fullest, trying to capture Tsunade's whereabouts and the direction of the upcoming attack. Suddenly, Yanagi sensed an unusual fluctuation above him, and he swung his sword upwards without hesitation. However, he was still a step too slow. A black shadow fell rapidly like a cannonball, smashing towards Yanagi with unparalleled power. Weird punch! With a roar, Tsunade's fist hit Yanagi fiercely. This blow contained Tsunade's terrifying power, and its power was extremely astonishing. Yanagi only felt a surge of overwhelming force, as if it was going to tear him apart. He tried his best to resist, but was still pushed back several meters by this powerful force. Boom! With a loud bang, Tsunade's attack landed on the ground. A huge deep pit was blown out of the ground within a radius of several meters, and there were fine cracks all around. Countless rocks flew everywhere, and dust flew everywhere, covering the sky and the sun. Yanagi looked at the scene before him and couldn't help but feel a sense of awe in his heart. Is this the true strength of Tsunade-ji from Konoha village? It's really terrifying. After this round of fighting, Yanagi deeply realized that there was still a big gap between his physical skills and Tsunade's. He secretly made up his mind and decided to use his own unique skills. I saw him moving his hands quickly, forming a series of complicated hand seals. The speed was as fast as lightning, it was dazzling. Water escape. Great waterfall technique. With a low shout from Yanagi, his chakra suddenly burst out, and a huge stream of water gushed out from behind him like a rushing waterfall. Pulled by Yanagi's chakra, it rushed towards Tsunade with great momentum. This amount of chakra is worthy of being from the Senjo clan. Tsunade couldn't help but sigh as she looked at the huge amount of water in the training ground without any big rivers or lakes. This time, Tsunade did not choose to fight against the water style, waterfall technique. After all, she did not want to get wet. She stepped on the ground and flew up suddenly, intending to capture the thief first and take down Yanagi directly. As expected, Tsunade chose to jump high to avoid the impact of the water flow. However, she overlooked an important problem: there was no place in the air to gain leverage. Now! Water style, water break wave. Yanagi's eyes were fixed on Tsunade in front of him, and he whispered softly. He quickly formed seals with his hands, and the huge amount of chakra in his body condensed instantly, and then he suddenly spewed out a stream of high-pressure water from his mouth. Yanagi was secretly proud in his heart. Hey, Sister Tsunade, let's see how you can dodge this move of mine. Oh my god, isn't this my second grandfather's ninjutsu? Where did this kid learn it from? I never taught him. Tsunade was shocked when she saw Yanagi's use of the water-breaking wave. This is the signature ninjutsu of the second Hokage. With this move, the second Hokage can even cut off the roots of the sacred tree by spraying high-pressure water from his mouth. Faced with such a powerful attack, Tsunade did not dare to be negligent at all. She decisively displayed her excellent physical skills and relied on the strong flexibility of her body to narrowly avoid the attack. You want to kill me, you little brat? How dare you use this trick? Tsunade couldn't help but curse loudly, secretly groaning in her heart. I couldn't use my full strength to avoid hurting him, and I had to be careful of this guy's endless tricks. This was more tiring than carrying out a mission. However, Yanagi did not give Tsunade any chance to breathe. His right hand quickly turned into a claw shape, and the airflow and chakra in the palm of his hand spun rapidly like a whirlwind. In the blink of an eye, an extremely powerful whirlwind formed with Yanagi as the center. The whirlwind swept towards Tsunade with fierce momentum. Tsunade widened her eyes, not daring to relax at all, and prepared to deal with this sudden attack with all her strength. Spiral pills. A rotating sphere finally formed in Yanagi's hand. The surface of the sphere was shining with blue light, and it was constantly rotating with the flow of chakra. Tsunade stomped the ground with a painful kick, and multiple cracks formed on the ground towards Yanagi. The next moment, the cracked ground collapsed, and dust filled the sky. Tsunade was hidden in the vast fog. Yanagi saw a figure rushing towards him. It was Tsunade. Her right arm was covered with a faint blue light. It was a chakra scalpel. The distance of several meters was just a short distance for the two of them, and they were there in a flash. In the blink of an eye, Tsunade's chakra scalpel had been swung down, and Yanagi used the raised nan to hit Tsunade's chakra scalpel directly. Boom! The powerful destructive force destroyed everything nearby, and the few onlookers had already retreated to a farther distance. When the dust settled and the aftermath dissipated, Tsunade was standing there unharmed, and Yanagi had fainted in her arms. Tsunade pushed aside the bangs covering her face and looked at the young child in front of her. You brat, you have to fight so hard. But it's rare to have such strength at such a young age. Chapter 16. Yanagi frowned slightly, opened his eyes dazedly, and slowly focused his gaze on the familiar ceiling above his head. He felt a surge of regret in his heart, remembering that he fainted during Tsunade's test yesterday. Why was I so impulsive? That was Tsunade. He muttered to himself, feeling very upset about his behavior. Yesterday, he naively thought that Tsunade really wanted to have a real manly duel with him, but he didn't expect it to be a trap. Tsunade's real body hid behind him and hit him hard. His back still hurts. Yanagi was feeling uneasy, not knowing whether the incense stick he had burned yesterday had burned out, nor was he sure whether he had passed the test. He struggled to sit up, but suddenly felt something pressing down on his arm. He turned his head and saw a bright red hair. Brother Yanagi! You finally woke up. Juxin, who was originally sleeping soundly, was awakened by Yanagi's actions. When she saw that Yanagi had woken up, a happy smile immediately bloomed on her face. How long have I slept? And how come you fell asleep here? Aren't you afraid of catching a cold? Yanagi asked with concern. He was full of doubts and was also a little surprised by Ju Xin's appearance. A whole night has passed, Yanagi brother. It's okay, Tsunade said you just fainted, but I still can't help but worry about you. Uzumaki Kushina's voice became lower and lower, and she seemed a little embarrassed. Yanagi gently stroked her fiery red hair to express his inner gratitude. At this moment, a clear shout broke the silence, "Hey, little ghost, you finally woke up." Yanagi. I'm so glad you're safe. I was really scared when I saw you suddenly faint yesterday. Why did you have to confront your sister head-on? She was so. Noeki-kun, who has always been known as a little expert in seeking death, was unusually alert this time to Tsunade's threatening look, and he tactfully stopped talking immediately. Sister Tsunade, you hit me too hard. My back hurts so much now. Yanagi rubbed his back and complained to Tsunade. How dare you say that? What dangerous ninjutsu did you use yesterday? Don't you have any idea? I never realized that you could be so ruthless that you even dared to use a move like the water-breaking wave. I remember clearly that I did not teach you such dangerous techniques from my second grandfather so early. And that ninjutsu like the meatball that does not require hand seals, where did you learn it from? Tsunade's tone was harsh and complaining, and she was obviously quite dissatisfied with Yanagi's behavior yesterday. Yanagi scratched the back of his head in embarrassment, his eyes involuntarily drifting to the sweaty Noeki beside him. He showed a shy and proud smile on his face, and said softly, "Actually, I discovered this by accident, he. Sister Tsunade, you are so powerful, I thought there is no way I can do anything to you, and it is true. That unprinted ninjutsu, I suddenly thought of it when I saw a whirlpool spinning by the water. I named it Raise Nan." Tsunade glared at the culprit, Noeki, fiercely, then turned around and said to Yanagi with a serious face, "This technique is too dangerous for you. It must not be used in school. Do you understand?" Yanagi nodded hurriedly to show his agreement, and promised that he would never use these powerful ninjutsu easily unless he had to. Then, Tsunade's tone became gentle, with admiration in her eyes, "But, Yanagi, you are really a genius. According to my observation yesterday, the Raise Nan can at least be rated as an A-level ninjutsu. Moreover, if the chakra attribute changes can be incorporated into the subsequent practice, its potential will be limitless." Her words revealed her recognition and expectations for Yanagi. "Okay, sign this first, remember to sign it with your own blood. After you sign, I have to go find that old man to explain what happened yesterday. Oh, such a big commotion in the middle of the village, it's really a headache to think about it. It's all your fault, you little brat." Tsunade said as she bit her thumb without hesitation and completed the seal at a very fast speed. Then, she gently slapped the ground with one hand and shouted, "Summoning technique." As Tsunade performed the summoning technique, a thick white mist suddenly exploded. Before the white mist completely dissipated, a sweet and pleasant female voice was heard. "Tsunade-sama. You summoned me here, is there something important?" However, what was unexpected was that such a sweet and lovely voice came from a huge, slimy slug with a light blue body. This scene almost shocked Noeki and Kushina's jaws. "Take out the summoning scroll. This brat wants to sign a contract with the Wet Bone Forest." Tsunade said calmly. "Hi. Lady Tsunade." As Tsunade finished speaking, a huge slug slowly crawled out of the Wet Bone Forest. Its body was a strange green color and covered with a layer of sticky liquid. Then, the slug opened its mouth, spit out a mysterious and ancient scroll, and carefully brought it to Yanagi. Yanagi looked at the mysterious scroll in front of him, full of curiosity. He noticed that the surface of the scroll was covered with all kinds of strange symbols and patterns, which formed a series of complex sealing techniques, which were completely unfamiliar to Yanagi. He realized that this scroll must contain powerful power, so he thanked the slug with gratitude, then stretched out his hands and steadily caught the scroll. When Yanagi gently opened the scroll, he was surprised to find that it was already densely covered with many names. After careful observation, he deduced that these names should be the marks left by the ninjas who had signed a contract with the slug. Among the many names, the two closest ones were obviously Tsunade herself and the first-generation Hokage, Senju Hashirama. Although Yanagi was not familiar with the other names, he keenly noticed that the names on the scroll were mostly ninjas from the Senju family. Yanagi took a deep breath, bit his index finger without hesitation, and then signed his name neatly in the blank space behind Tsunade's name with blood Yanagi. Finally, Yanagi pressed a clearly visible handprint under his signature. This handprint is not just a form, but also represents the close connection between him and the Wet Bone Forest and the slugs. After doing all this, Yanagi felt an inexplicable power surge in his heart, as if he had established a special connection with a mysterious existence. "Okay, then please send this little guy to the wet bone forest to pay a visit to the slug sage. I have to rush to the Hokage's office to explain what happened yesterday to that old man from the third Hokage. Tsunade said anxiously. Okay, Lady Tsunade. Little Yanagi, be prepared. The big slug nodded in response after hearing Tsunade's instructions, and turned around and whispered to Yanagi. Then, it lifted the summoning technique, and with a burst of white smoke, its figure gradually blurred until it disappeared. Not long after, Yanagi suddenly felt a mysterious and powerful force trying to establish a connection with him. He realized that this should be the wet bone forest who was using the spiritual contract to reverse his spiritual communication. So Yanagi took a deep breath and tried to relax his body. Then, a strong spatial fluctuation suddenly hit, and Yanagi's figure instantly disappeared under the influence of this fluctuation. Noeki and Uzumaki Kushina watched Yanagi disappear in front of them, and they couldn't help but feel an indescribable sense of loss. However, they also knew that Yanagi was going to receive a more powerful force, and they expected Yanagi to become even more powerful. When Yanagi saw the light again, he found himself in the wet bone forest, as if he had stepped into a dreamlike wonderland. The sun shone through the gaps between the lush leaves, forming colorful rays of light, reflecting on the thick fallen leaves on the ground, like a soft velvet blanket. Looking up, all kinds of trees stood among them, tall and straight, with their crowns intertwined, weaving a green sky. Squirrels jumped happily among the branches, and birds sang on the branches, and the clear and melodious songs echoed in the air. A clear stream flowed slowly, the stream water was icy cold, and the lush water plants and colorful wild flowers beside the stream complemented each other. Yanagi took a deep breath of fresh air and felt the peaceful atmosphere around him, as if all his worries were washed away at this moment. A scene of vitality and flourishing development appeared before his eyes. Ding! The host has arrived at the wet bone forest and completed the achievement check-in at the wet bone forest, and is rewarded with a nature affinity physique. Suddenly, an electronic sound rang in Yanagi's mind. Chapter 17. I don't want it. Yanagi opened his eyes again and saw the very familiar ceiling again, and at the same time felt a heavy pressure on his arm. He knew without thinking, and when he turned around, it was Uzumaki Kushina sleeping beside his bed, pressing his arm. Oh my god! Am I reborn again? I was killed by that damn old slug woman. Yanagi was so angry that he even blurted out a friendly greeting in Chinese, which he rarely said. He cursed the abominable old woman who had been single for 1,000 years, thinking that even if she couldn't get out of the wet bone forest, couldn't she learn from toads or snakes and raise a tribe? She has to have fun by herself. It's fine if she just role plays by herself, but I'm not her toy. Why does she torture me like this? Look how badly she hurt me. At this moment, Yanagi suddenly heard a gentle call, Brother Yanagi, what's wrong with you? Did you have a nightmare? Yanagi excitedly grabbed Kushina's arm and asked anxiously, Kushina. Tell me, what day is it today? Sunday, what happened to you, Yanagi nii? You suddenly disappeared yesterday, and were brought back in a coma by that slug sister with the nice voice at night. We were all scared, but luckily Tsunade nii was there, and she diagnosed that you were just in a coma. What happened? Uzumaki Kushina blinked her beautiful big eyes and looked at Yanagi with a worried look on her face. Yanagi cursed the hateful old woman in his heart, but a gentle smile appeared on his face, and he comforted her softly, it's okay, it's okay. It's just that I accidentally had an accident when practicing a special ninjutsu. Don't worry. After a brief chat with Noeki and the others, Yanagi came to the door of Uzumaki Mito's room. He knocked on the door lightly, making a dong 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 sound. Yanagi, come in. Uzumaki Mito's gentle voice came from the room. Granny Mito's perception is still so strong. She knew it was me right away. Yanagi pushed open the door and walked into the room, saying with a smile. Grandma Mito sat by the window, the sunlight shining on her, making her look particularly kind. She smiled at Yanagi, with a hint of doting in her eyes, and asked, Little Yanagi, is there anything you want to talk to Grandma about? Since Mito discovered the shadow of her lover, Hashirama Senju, during the last battle between Yanagi and Tsunade, she has become more loving to Yanagi. This feeling is not only because of the similarities between Yanagi and Hashirama, but also because she feels a kind of intimacy from Yanagi. For this old woman who had witnessed the glorious history of Konoha village, Yanagi seemed to be a bridge connecting the past and the present, allowing her to recall those good old days. Well, it's like this, Grandma Mito. I suddenly feel a strange power in my body recently. Yanagixiya stretched out her palm, and a seed was lying in the palm of her palm. When Uzumaki Mito was wondering, the next shocking scene appeared. The seed began to tremble slightly, as if it had life. Then, the seed's skin began to crack, and a tender green bud emerged from it. The tip of the bud grew rapidly, turning into a thin stem, and then a few emerald green leaves grew out. The whole process was so fast that it was dazzling, and Uzumaki Mito was so surprised that he couldn't close his mouth. This. She stared with eyes wide open, looking at what was happening in front of her in disbelief. The seed that was originally lying quietly in the palm of the Yanagi actually took root and sprouted at an astonishing speed before her eyes, and grew into a small plant. It's the power of wood release. That's right, it's the power of wood release. There's no mistake, this is Hashirama's power. Uzumaki Mito said excitedly, with excitement in her eyes. She knew very well how powerful wood release was. This magical ability once belonged to her husband, Hashirama Senju. Yanagi, tell grandma when you realized that you possessed the power of wood release. Uzumaki Mito asked anxiously. Yanagi hesitated for a moment. He couldn't tell Grandma Mito that he actually gained the power of wood release because of a mysterious system. So he told a white lie, I went to the wet bone forest yesterday and felt it when I came back. He secretly felt sorry for Grandma Mito, but he thought it would be better not to tell anyone about this secret for the time being. After all, the mysterious system was too bizarre, and he didn't know what risks and secrets were hidden in it. Mito warned Yanagi with a serious face. She knew very well that the Konoha village today was no longer the Konoha village during the rule of Hashirama and Tobirama. The monkeys are no longer the young men they once were, especially Danzo, who showed his full malice in front of him several times. Danzo could never have imagined that the nine-tailed fox in his body actually has the magical power to sense good and evil. He never expected that power would change the young man of the former will of fire into something else. Yanagi, listen to Grandma. Before you become Hokage, unless it is absolutely necessary, never use the power of wood release in front of others. If someone sees you, kill him. Do you understand? This old man, who looks kind but has experienced countless wars and turmoil, is, after all, a member of the powerful Uzumaki clan. I promise you. Grandma Mito. After Yanagi shouted this without hesitation, a satisfied and kind smile immediately appeared on Uzumaki Mito's face. Good boy. Come, follow me. Uzumaki Mito slowly stood up, stretched out her warm and strong hand, and tightly held Yanagi's still slightly tender hand. She led Yanagi slowly towards the secret room of the Senju clan. After entering the secret room, Yanagi was shocked by the dazzling array of precious materials and secret books in front of him. Here, there are not only the extremely powerful wood release techniques of the first Hokage Hashirama, but also the various ninjutsu created by the second Hokage Tobirama, and the precious experience and wisdom left by countless predecessors. These are all treasures of our Senju clan over the years. Uzumaki Mito said softly, with pride and emotion in her eyes. She gently stroked those ancient scrolls and books, as if she was touching the history and glory of the Senju clan. From today on, this place will be open to you. You can come and read and study at any time. I hope you can draw strength from it and become an excellent ninja and a strong man. Finally, become Hokage and carry out the true will of fire. Uzumaki Mito stared at Yanagi, his eyes full of earnest expectations. Yanagi's eyes were wet with excitement. He knew very well what these treasures meant to a ninja. He secretly vowed to practice hard and live up to Mito's expectations. Chapter 18. After Yanagi had a heart-to-heart talk with Uzumaki Mito, in order to have enough time to secretly practice and master the new rewards of the system and the power of the bloodline limit would escape, he created a shadow clone every day and asked him to accompany Nawaki and Kushina to the ninja school. As for himself, he sneaked out of the perception barrier through the secret passage revealed by Mito and ran to the training ground in the secret laboratory of Tobirama that had not been used for many years to practice ninjutsu. The system checks personal attributes. Name, Yanagi, Thousand-Armed Yanagi. Sex, male. Age, 9 years old. Strength, Chunin who is good at both taijutsu and ninjutsu. Ninjutsu, Raise Nan, Water Dragon Bullet Technique, Water Array Wall, Waterfall Technique. Let's start with you and me, even though I used a few more words, hehe. Chakra attributes, Water, Earth, Yang. Special abilities, Sage Body, Intermediate, Wood Release, Otsutsuki bloodline, meager, no seal, natural constitution. He still hasn't reached the level of Jonin? No way, Kakashi would have become a Jonin at the age of 12 without any cheating. Yanagi muttered to himself, his eyes revealing a hint of unwillingness and loss. Ding! It is detected that the host has met the basic requirements to become a Jonin, but still lacks the practical experience and various knowledge and skills required for a Jonin. Please continue to work hard, study well, and improve every day. At this time, a cold electronic sound sounded in Yanagi's mind. Hearing the system's prompt, Yanagi nodded thoughtfully. He probably understood the problem. He had always been the king of the ninja school, bullying the weak and destroying the fish pond. Except for a few opponents with good strength, most people could not even reach the level of genin. In such an environment, he could not get any truly valuable practical experience. Moreover, Yanagi knew very well that although his golden finger was extremely powerful, it did not have the ability to directly instill combat experience into his brain. If he wanted to improve his strength, he could only rely on himself to constantly explore and practice. Thinking of this, Yanagi took a deep breath and secretly made up his mind. It seems that the plan to graduate from the ninja school should be prepared in advance. I must step out of my comfort zone, accept missions, and accumulate more practical experience through life and death battles with ninjas. Only in this way can I become a real Jonin soon. Yanagi had just finished his exercise and was on his way back, while still thinking about how to apply for early graduation. His thoughts were interrupted by a familiar voice. Yanagi, I was just looking for you. Sister Tsunade? What do you want from me? It's the old man from the third generation who wants to see you. Of course, it's up to you whether you want to see you or not. Yanagi was a little surprised to hear the news. He asked in confusion, Uncle Sande is looking for me? Sister Tsunade, do you know why he is looking for me? Tsunade shook her head and said, I don't know the details. However, when we were practicing in the training ground, we made quite a commotion, and the Enbu reported it to the third Hokage. He probably learned that you created the Raise Nan because of that. I guess this summons has something to do with it. Anyway, if you decide to go, I will go with you. If you don't want to go, that's fine, I will help you explain to the old man. Yanagi looked thoughtful, thinking about the real intention of the third Hokage to summon him. After a moment, he made a decision, well, since it is the third Hokage who summoned me, I'd better go. At the same time, I also plan to apply for early graduation from the third Hokage. Sister Tsunade, please accompany me. Sister Tsunade was shocked when she heard this. Hey? You actually want to apply for early graduation? Why don't you discuss it with your family first? After all, you are still young. I can't agree. Sister Tsunade, you should know my strength very well. Staying in the ninja school is just a waste of time for me. Only an eagle that has experienced countless storms can spread its wings and soar in the blue sky. Tsunade seemed to want to say something, but Yanagi didn't give her the chance. Sister Tsunade, you once mentioned that the frictions between the various villages in the ninja world have become more frequent recently. I have a feeling that war is imminent. Once the war breaks out, students like me and Nawaki will be thrown into the battlefield. Instead of passively waiting, it is better to take the initiative and accumulate valuable combat experience in advance by carrying out missions. Yanagi, well, what you said does make some sense, but you also have to believe that I, your sister, will definitely protect all of you. No matter whether it is you, Nawaki, or Kushina, no one can hurt you. Tsunade said in a firm tone. Yeah, of course I believe Sister Tsunade. In that case, let's go find the third Hokage to find out the situation. Yanagi nodded. Old man, I have brought Yanagi here. Tsunade absent-mindedly shouted to the room, and kicked the door of the Hokage's office open. This was not the first time she had done this, so both the Anbu members in the Hokage building and the third Hokage himself in the office were used to it. Maybe this time Tsunade lost everything in the casino, which made her lose her composure. However, the elders of the Elders' Council who had always been at odds with Tsunade were so angry that their blood pressure soared. Tsunade completely ignored Danzo and the other elders. She pulled Yanagi straight to an empty seat, pushed Yanagi down on the seat, and sat down next to him. Tsunade, how can you be so unreasonable? Do you think the Hokage's office is your home? Seeing that Tsunade had no respect for herself and others, Koharu Utane got angry and started to teach her a lesson. Tsunade curled her lips indifferently. I'm so sorry, I was used to kicking my grandfather and second grandfather when I was a child, and I really forgot that the Hokage's office is not mine. Yutane Koharu was so angry at her stubborn attitude that she was almost speechless. Okay. Yanagi, let's talk about serious things first. Seeing that the two were about to quarrel again, the third Hokage quickly spoke to smooth things over. He picked up his pipe, took a deep puff, and then exhaled a puff of smoke, as if this would make his head less painful. Hey! The third Hokage put down his pipe, looked at the young man in front of him and said, Yanagi, I asked you to come here this time for two things. First, I heard from Tsunade a few days ago that you invented a new ninjutsu. Is it true? Yes, it's true. I named it Raise Nan. Yanagi stretched out his hand, and saw the chakra in the palm of his hand spinning rapidly like a whirlwind, bringing up a strong airflow, even blowing a strong wind in the Hokage's office. Swish! 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 As the chakra activity in the Hokage's office became more intense, a large number of Anbu appeared like ghosts. They looked nervous and ready for battle, fearing that any unexpected situation would occur. However, when they heard the calm and firm voice of the third Hokage, "It's all right here, you can retreat," these well-trained Anbu members felt relieved and quietly disappeared into the darkness. At this moment, the third Hokage was shocked beyond words. He stared at the 9-year-old child in front of him, and was secretly amazed. This child could actually create such an outstanding and promising non-printed ninjutsu, which really made him, who was respected as the ninjutsu doctor, feel ashamed. The third Hokage looked around and noticed that the other old guys also showed similar shock on their faces, and he felt a little relieved. After all, if he was the only one so surprised, the scene would be a bit embarrassing. However, according to convention, he still had to have a democratic discussion first. He turned to look at Danzo, his eyes asking, "Danzo, what do you think about this?" Then he turned his gaze to Koharu and Yan, and said, "What about you? If you have any ideas or suggestions, you might as well tell me." Chapter 19. It's true that heroes emerge young. No doubt about it. I was already ecstatic to be able to use a few ninjutsu at Yanagi's age, but Yanagi was able to develop A-level unprinted ninjutsu on his own. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Midaman stroked his beard gently, with admiration and praise on his face. His eyes, which had experienced the vicissitudes of life, stared at Yanagi, as if he saw himself when he was young. At this time, Yutane Koharu took over Mito Kato-en's words. Moreover, if this Raise Nan can incorporate the characteristics of chakra attribute changes, its power will definitely reach a jaw-dropping and horrifying level. Her tone was full of anticipation and excitement, as if she had foreseen the future possibilities of this ninjutsu. However, in this harmonious and beautiful atmosphere, Danzo suddenly spoke up to break the silence. "Yanagi, are you willing to come to my route?" His low and powerful voice echoed in the room, making everyone look sideways. In an instant, the whole room was plunged into a tense atmosphere. As a mysterious and powerful organization in Konoha village, the route has always been a controversial existence. The third Hokage, Yutaten Koharu and Mito Kato-en don't want Danzo's power to continue to grow, which will break the balance of power among them. And Yanagi's identity is also very sensitive, and this topic cannot be easily brought up. After all, Uzumaki Mito is still alive. How could she agree that her grandson would join an organization like the Root? Don't you have any idea, Danzo? If you go in, you will be marked with the tongue eradication seal, and your life will be in your hands. Oh! Tsunade was so angry at Danzo's words that she laughed. She raised her fist and slammed the table beside her. With this blow, the whole solid wooden table instantly broke into pieces and shattered to the ground, which showed how angry she was. How dare he say such things in front of her, trying to recruit her brother into the shady rat organization of the Root. This was simply the greatest insult and provocation to her. However, at this moment, Yanagi on the side quickly stepped forward to comfort Tsunade. "Sister Tsunade, don't be angry, it's okay." He knew very well that this was not the time to have a direct conflict with the other party, and he must remain calm and restrained. Then, Yanagi turned to look at Danzo and said calmly, "Uncle Shimura, thank you for your appreciation and recruitment. In fact, I am also very grateful that you think highly of me, but to be honest, I am really not suitable to join an organization like the Root." Hearing this, Shimura Danzo, who was directly rejected, looked gloomy and clenched his cane tightly. The third Hokage, who was sitting at the top, took a puff of his pipe silently, and seemed to be very satisfied with Yanagi's rejection. Danzo, I naturally have arrangements for Yanagi. Shimura Danzo looked at his old friend who was sitting in the Hokage position and puffing out smoke with a gloomy look in his eyes. He was secretly angry in his heart. Sarutobi Hiruzen was limiting his power again. He was just afraid that he would become the Hokage and take his position. It seems that you are getting old too, Hiruzen. Udaten Koharu looked at Shimura Danzo's dead face and guessed what he was thinking, so she persuaded him, Danzo, since Hiruzen has already made arrangements, then as the Hokage's assistant, you don't have to interfere. Not to be outdone, the other member of the professional supporting duo echoed, everything is for the better development of the village. Hearing this, Danzo Shimura couldn't help but sneer in his heart, but he didn't show it on his face. At this time, the third Hokage spoke again, Danzo, if you have any other opinions, you can raise them and we can discuss them together. After all, our goal is for the benefit of the village. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen's tone was calm, the majesty contained in it could not be ignored. Facing Tsunade's questioning and the three Sarutobi who had already reached an agreement, Shimura Danzo knew that he had no chance to force Yanagi into his organization. He sighed inwardly, a trace of unwillingness flashed in his eyes, but he finally chose to give up. However, he still threw down a cruel word as usual, humph. Hiruzen, you will regret it. Enough, Danzo. I am the Hokage. The third Hokage cooperated very well and said this in conclusion. His originally serious expression suddenly became friendly and he turned to look at Yanagi who was eating melons and watching the show. Yanagi, are you willing to donate the raised nan to the village? Don't worry, if you are willing, the village will definitely not treat you unfairly. After hearing what the third Hokage said, Yanagi did not answer immediately, but fell into deep thought. Old man, let's talk about this later. Let Yanagi think about it first. Tell me what else you want to say. Grandma is waiting for us to go home for dinner. If you have something to say, just tell me now. Tsunade was already upset, and after Shimura Danzo added fuel to the fire, her tone was full of gunpowder, like a volcano about to erupt. If she was not afraid of the respected third Hokage in front of her, she would have taught Shimura Danzo, who always liked to stir up trouble, a lesson. Facing Tsunade's questioning, the third Hokage was not angry, but showed a relieved smile, haha, it's okay, no rush. The village will be tolerant and wait for every Konoha ninja with the will of fire. However, the second thing I want to say is that I hope you can apply for early graduation. Hey! Yanagi is really sleepy and someone comes to give him a pillow. Just when I was thinking about applying for early graduation and how to convince Tsunade, the third Hokage asked me to graduate early. Tsunade was very depressed. Not only did this brat Yanagi want to graduate early, but she couldn't convince him otherwise. She was even going to go home and ask Grandma Mito to continue persuading him to wait at least another year. But now the third Hokage also wanted Yanagi to graduate early. There was no hope of stopping this brat now. Can I ask why, Uncle Sandame? Although graduating early was indeed in line with Yanagi's own expectations, there must be a reason why the third generation suddenly proposed this idea. It might be a big trap. After all, these old men are full of bad intentions, and they will be tricked if they are not careful. Hoping you to graduate early is also for the benefit of the village. It's really because the incident happened suddenly. Not only you, Uchiha-en, Noeki, and Hyagasazuran will also consider asking for early graduation. Mainly because. Chapter 20. The ninja world has been really unstable recently. Since the last Ninja World War, all countries have been recuperating for many years, but those hungry wolves who were licking their wounds in secret have finally revealed their sharp fangs. Especially the Sand Village, which has repeatedly maliciously provoked friction on the border of my fire country. The third Hokage stood up and looked at the Hokage rock in the distance, feeling a lot of emotions in his heart. He knew that his teacher died heroically in the Ninja World War, and now it was his turn to face a new round of Ninja World War. So, what does this have to do with Yanagi and Noeki applying for early graduation? Tsunade asked in confusion. Of course it is related. The third Hokage said slowly, I plan to unite the 5 major ninja villages and the surrounding small ninja villages to jointly hold a joint Chunin exam. This has 2 purposes. First, it can demonstrate Konoha's current powerful military strength, thereby forming a certain deterrent to other major countries that are ready to make moves. Especially for the Sand Village that is frequently making small moves now, it is a powerful warning. Second, it can also have a deterrent effect on the surrounding small ninja villages, so that they dare not easily surrender to other countries. At least. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a few deep puffs of the pipe smoke, and then he continued in a heavy and cold voice, at least we can let them think more about the consequences before they act. We must plan ahead and be fully prepared to deal with possible crises. And we can ensure that other major powers will not have the opportunity to immediately break into the fire country, so that we can resist the war abroad and reduce the losses of the fire country. It can also leave us enough time to dispatch ninja troops and transport logistical supplies. Therefore, this joint Chunin exam is an important opportunity for us to show our strength to the outside world and consolidate our position. But, in this way, the future backbone of the village such as Naoki and Yanagi will be targeted by the other ninja villages at the first moment. Once the war really breaks out, the other villages will definitely strangle them in the cradle. I don't agree, this is not in line with Grandpa's will of fire. Tsunade said to the elders in front of her with a serious face. Tsunade. Everything is for the village. We need this Chunin exam to delay time. The village needs time to deploy supplies and prepare for battle. One of the elders responded equally seriously. Tsunade, you have to understand our difficulties. Although there are many genin in recent years, there are only a few who can be called geniuses. If it weren't for Yanagi this time, I would never have such an idea. After all, if there is no strong enough strength to suppress those geniuses in other villages, it will be difficult to play a deterrent role. And from Yanagi's performance when fighting with you, he at least has the strength of a special jonin. Even if he can't be perfect, considering his current age, he can already achieve quite good results. Just as Tsunade was about to continue to refute, Yanagi beside her quickly pulled her back and whispered, Sister Tsunade. Yanagi knew very well that applying for graduation early was what he had been looking forward to recently. Although the Chunin exam might bring some risks, it was not all bad for him. A tree that stands out in the forest is indeed vulnerable to wind damage, but he is not an ordinary tree. With the system and wood release, he is a sacred tree even if he is a piece of wood. Moreover, after this period of hard work, he has gradually mastered the power of wood release. Even if a strong wind blows, he can only put it out by himself. At present, what he lacks most is practical experience. As long as he can make up for this shortcoming in the Chunin exam, he will be able to achieve the transformation of a carp leaping over the dragon gate and a dragon emerging from the abyss. What's more, the nature of Chunin is completely different from Genin. Once promoted to the Chunin stage, the freedom of task selection will be greatly improved. In contrast, the tasks faced by Genin are often those low-level and relatively safe trivial matters, such as dealing with garbage, finding missing cats and dogs, etc. For other Genin, this undoubtedly brings many benefits, because this is the care and concern given to them by the village. Through this period of time, they can not only earn a certain amount of income, but also receive basic teachings from the instructor, and even practice how to use chakra to tread water, climb trees, etc. to master the control skills of chakra. However, for me, all these are meaningless. After all, I have no shortage of mentors to guide me. Let alone Mito and Tsunade, even if I go to the third Hokage to ask for advice on difficult problems in my training, he will definitely teach me everything he knows thanks to the relationship between Uzumaki Mito and Tsunade. Not to mention Jiraiya, if I ask him for advice, how dare he not teach me seriously? As for the opportunity to gain ninjutsu in exchange for accumulating tasks, he had no shortage of them. Grandma Mito had already opened up the treasure house of the Senju clan to him. He could learn any ninjutsu or sealing technique if he wanted to. This time it's not just as simple as being able to apply for early graduation, you can even completely skip the Genin stage which requires performing various trivial tasks and wasting a lot of precious time. If the joint Chunin exam can be successfully held, in addition to the Fire Country daimyo personally coming as in previous years, the daimyo of the other 4 major countries will at least send their trusted followers to lead the team to participate in this exam, even if they cannot personally lead the team. This is definitely a great opportunity for Yanagi who wants to become a Hokage. After all, Yanagi himself is a descendant of the Senju clan. The relationship between the Senju clan and the daimyo of the Fire Country has always been very good. Tsunade and Noeki are even the grandchildren of the daimyo of the Fire Country. Although the Senju clan no longer exists, as long as Uzumaki Mito and Tsunade are still around, the affection between them will still be there. So, as long as Yanagi can perform well in this exam, he can earn himself a very high impression score. When Yanagi's own strength and military exploits are sufficient in the future, he will not have to worry about not getting the position of Hokage. Uncle Sandame, and fellow elders, I am willing to accept the application for early graduation and participate in this Chunin exam. As a ninja of Konoha village, I have been nurtured and cultivated by the village. Now is the time for me to step forward and take risks for the village. Great! You are worthy of being a descendant of the Senju family. It is gratifying that you have such courage and determination. I will fully support your application and personally handle the relevant procedures for early graduation for you. However, the necessary procedures are still indispensable. I will send someone to notify you after the specific assessment time is determined. Remember, you must be fully prepared to meet the challenge in the best condition. The third Hokage responded with an appreciative smile. Just when Yanagi wanted to express some words of gratitude and politeness, Tsunade beside him could not suppress her anger. She grabbed him without any hesitation and turned away, leaving everyone at the scene looking at each other in bewilderment. Chapter 21. The founding of the ninja school can be traced back to the reign of the second Hokage of Konoha village, Tobirama Senju. The original intention was to break the monopoly of the Konoha ninja clan on ninjutsu. However, faced with strong pressure from the major ninja clans, this policy eventually had to compromise and evolved into an institution aimed at training more civilian ninjas. Ninja students usually enter school at the age of 6, and the school system in peacetime is 6 years. On campus, they will learn how to control chakra, skillfully use ninja tools, master various theoretical knowledge, and flexibly use the basic 3-body techniques. As for the ninjutsu they can get in touch with, it is limited to basic skills such as the 3-body techniques. For those ninjas who come from a family, the situation is relatively better. The family often teaches unique family secrets and advanced ninjutsu to ensure the inheritance and development of the family's strength. Ordinary civilian ninjas rely more on luck. If they are lucky enough to meet an enthusiastic and willing instructor, they may learn 1 or 2 ninjutsu, but in most cases, the level of the ninjutsu they learn is not very high. If they are unlucky, they can only work harder to complete the task and use the reward to exchange for the required ninjutsu. For most students who graduate on schedule, they need to pass a variety of assessments including written tests, 3-body techniques, and the use of ninja tools. For those who apply for early graduation, there will be an additional actual combat duel with experienced genin as a test of their strength. For Yanagi, he can easily cope with basic exams such as theoretical learning, sanshinjutsu, and the use of ninja tools. In the first theory test, Yanagi finished the test paper and handed it in just half an hour, which was so fast that the invigilator was dumbfounded. You know, since he has been an invigilator, he has never seen a student hand in a paper so quickly. Not only that, when the invigilator quickly glanced at the test paper, he was surprised to find that every question Yanagi answered was correct. Even if he took the exam in person, he might not be able to answer so quickly and accurately. The next test was the use of ninja tools. In this test, Yanagi showed the unique shuriken manipulation skills of the Uchiha family in front of the invigilator of the Uchiha family. The invigilator frequently checked the information of the candidates, wondering if the candidate in front of him was really not from the Uchiha clan. The last exam was for the transformation technique, one of the 3-body techniques. Yanagi was a student who received the admission bonus by virtue of the 3-body techniques. When it came to the mastery of these ninjutsu, he was second to none in the entire Konoha village or even the entire ninja world. The third Hokage changed the rules for the final exam. According to the original plan, a genin should be arranged to fight against him. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen knew Yanagi's extraordinary strength, so he personally selected an opponent for Yanagi Uchiha Fugaku. Although Uchiha Fugaku was only 16 years old at this time and had only graduated 4 years ago, he had already become an experienced chunin. As the young patriarch of the Uchiha clan, he had already begun to stand out in the Konoha police force and served as a squad leader. Yanagi stared at Uchiha Fugaku in front of him. He was wearing an ugly dark green Konoha chunin vest and a battle robe with the Uchiha clan emblem. Although he was only 16 years old, he showed a kind of maturity that was inconsistent with his age, especially his iconic droopy face, which made people wonder, is this really from the Uchiha clan that is full of handsome men and beautiful women? Yanagi really wanted to know how he could have produced such handsome brothers like Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke. It must have been due to his wife's good genes. Unfortunately, Yanagi didn't remember who his wife was, otherwise he would have gone to meet her anyway. Sure enough, he should have studied Naruto carefully. Uchiha Fugaku on the other side was also looking at Yanagi, thinking to himself, is this Yanagi, the member of the Senju clan who defeated our Uchiha clan geniuses several times? He looks like a member of our Uchiha clan. However, he is still too young, and he doesn't have my maturity and charm. Maybe he will be more outstanding when he is older. However, Uchiha Fugaku knew very well that since the third Hokage personally summoned and appointed him as the examiner for Yanagi's early graduation, it meant that the young man's strength must be extraordinary, at least not inferior to that of an ordinary chunin. Uchiha Fugaku couldn't help but feel a little helpless. In fact, with my current strength, I should have been promoted to Jonin long ago. It's a pity that the village has always been wary of our Uchiha clan and deliberately suppressed our development. Thinking of this, a trace of imperceptible sadness flashed in his eyes as the young clan leader. He felt entangled that the Uchiha clan could not integrate into Konoha. At this moment, the invigilator could not stand it any longer. The two were only looking at each other and seemed to have completely forgotten about the exam. So he had to remind them, please prepare yourself. Make the seal of opposition immediately. You know, whether it is Uchiha Fugaku or Yanagi, they are not people that he, a special jonin from a commoner background, can easily afford to provoke. After Yanagi and Uchiha Fugaku made a seal of opposition, Yanagi did not hesitate to use the unique shuriken control technique of the Uchiha family and launched an active attack on Uchiha Fugaku. He caught Uchiha Fugaku off guard first. After all, he is the father of Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke, and in the anime he also has powerful abilities such as the Manjiki Sharingan. Although he looks a little ugly, his strength should not be underestimated. When Uchiha Fugaku saw Yanagi actually use his family's signature throwing technique, he was indeed a little confused at first. After all, no outsider had ever dared to use their family's skills against him. However, with his strong psychological quality, he forced himself to quickly adjust his state, concentrate on the battle, and intercept with the same shuriken control technique. At this moment, the throwing skills of both of them have reached the pinnacle, and this duel has become a gorgeous performance. The clanging sound of the shurikens colliding with each other is like a pleasant musical instrument, crisp and pleasant, and their body movements are like dancers dancing, full of rhythm, and this beautiful scene contains endless murderous intent. Uchiha Fugaku saw that he could not gain the upper hand in his own shuriken throwing technique, and he could not help but feel ashamed. If this were to get out, the young patriarch of the Uchiha clan was not as good as the Senju clan in his own technique, and he would not be able to survive, so he had no choice but to decisively open his Sharingan. Chapter 22. Uchiha Fugaku's eyes widened, his pupils had turned blood red, 3 Megatama were spinning, and Yanagi's movements in front of him became extremely slow. All the movement trajectories are clear, it's over. The Megatama in Uchiha Fugaku's eyes spun rapidly, and he concentrated on using the unique ability of the Sharingan dynamic vision. With this magical skill, he keenly captured the flaws in Yanagi's ninja tool throwing. Then, he quickly threw the shuriken in his hand, accurately hitting Yanagi's shuriken, and cleverly pulled the steel wire to make it start to spin. Under Uchiha Fugaku's exquisite control, the shuriken seemed to be given life, sweeping in like a whirlwind with steel wires. In an instant, Yanagi was tied up tightly and unable to move. Uchiha Fugaku's mouth corners slightly raised, revealing a sly smile. However, he did not stop attacking. His hands were seen dancing, fire style, dragon fire technique. A huge ball of flame gushed out of his mouth, like a ferocious fire dragon. The fire dragon quickly spread along the steel wire and pounced on Yanagi with its fangs and claws bared. The high temperature caused the water vapor in the air to evaporate quickly, forming a thin layer of mist, which showed a strange orange-red color under the light of the fire. The light of the fire reflected on the faces of Uchiha Fugaku and Yanagi, making their faces look even more severe and distorted. Boom! With a loud bang, the red dragon raged and ignited everything around it. The high temperature brought by the blazing flames burned everyone present, suffocating them. Yanagi was trapped in the sea of fire, and his life or death was uncertain. Oh no, did I go too hard? Will he die? Uchiha Fugaku suddenly realized that he might have been too impulsive, and a trace of regret and worry surged in his heart. It's too late to rescue. It all happened too fast. I'm just a small special jonin, why do you let me supervise this battle? If something goes wrong, will my salary be deducted? The supervising teacher on the side panicked and complained wildly in his heart. He originally thought it was just an ordinary competition, but he didn't expect Uchiha Fugaku to be so powerful and the battle scene was so fierce. Faced with such a situation, they were helpless and could only watch the fire grow bigger and bigger. Where are you looking? Suddenly, a whisper came into Uchiha Fugaku's ear. He was startled and turned around quickly, but he didn't have time to think about when Yanagi broke free from his restraints. However, facing Yanagi who was attacking him with a long sword, Uchiha Fugaku didn't have time to think about it, and quickly reached out and pulled out a kunai from his waist, narrowly blocking Yanagi's attack. He looked at it carefully and couldn't help but secretly praise it in his heart. What a good sword! The sword was as gorgeous as a touch of blood, and it flashed a frightening cold light under the sunlight. Uchiha Fugaku and Yanagi each held a weapon and fought each other in an instant. There was a constant sound of clanging, and in the blink of an eye, the two had fought several rounds. After another fierce collision, Uchiha Fugaku frowned secretly. Although he had the Sharingan, which could see every move of Yanagi, the opponent's speed was too fast, and his moves were fierce and sharp, and each sword went straight to the vital point, forcing him to go all out with physical skills to deal with it. But if this continued, he would gradually be at a disadvantage due to his backward physical skills, and he must not be led by him. Genjutsu. Sharingan. Uchiha Fugaku's eyes widened as he used the Uchiha clan's Sharingan illusion. This ninjutsu was one of the most practical illusions of the Uchiha clan. As long as the opponent looked at his Sharingan, he could use the hypnotic eye ability of the Sharingan to the maximum extent. By making the opponent see a momentary horrific fantasy, he could deprive his body of freedom. He could also use illusions to interfere with the opponent's actions. It had many uses, and ordinary ninjas could hardly resist this illusion. This was also the reason why it was said in the ninja world that one had to flee quickly when encountering a Sharingan in a one-on-one fight. Except for perverts like Kai who had practiced physical skills to the extreme, fighting against his opponent without his eyes and not being weak was basically a sure loss. What's the point of staring at me with wide eyes? Are you trying to stare me to death? Yanagi saw Uchiha Fugaku suddenly slow down his movements, widened his eyes, and stared at him fiercely. Although this guy is really ugly, he won't be so ugly that he will die. He secretly complained in his heart, but his hands did not stop moving at all. He hit Uchiha Fugaku hard with the hilt of the sword, and knocked him several meters away. Uchiha Fugaku fell heavily to the ground and lay there motionless. Swish! Yanagi did not relax after successfully knocking Uchiha Fugaku away. Instead, he used the instant body technique, flashed, and quickly chased after Uchiha Fugaku, wanting to end the battle as soon as possible. He was seen holding a long sword and stabbing straight at Uchiha Fugaku who was lying on the ground. He didn't believe that he could defeat Uchiha Fugaku so easily. However, the winner is decided. Please stop attacking. Otherwise I will cancel your victory. Stop now. The invigilator next to him saw that Uchiha Fugaku had fallen to the ground unconscious, but the man on the other side still refused to give up and was still desperately chasing him. He couldn't help but complain in his heart. He muttered to himself, "Oh, what bad luck! How could I run into people from the Uchiha and Senju families, two mortal enemies? This is a big trouble." Uchiha Fugaku used the dragon fire technique, as if he wanted to burn the opponent to ashes, while the other Yanagi was even more excessive. Even though Uchiha Fugaku was already unconscious, he still refused to give up, holding a long sword and using the body flickering technique to chase him, as if he wanted to kill him. If he hadn't intervened in time, I'm afraid Uchiha Fugaku would have died. This battle was too intense and too cruel. The invigilator shook his head helplessly, thinking, I am just a special jonin. I have a lot of work and low salary. Other jonin are showing off, but I can't even beat the examinees. I have worked for so many years and can't even afford a house in Konoha. I might as well retire. I'm so sorry, I thought he was pretending to be unconscious, I didn't expect he actually won. This was what Yanagi really thought. He really didn't expect Uchiha Fugaku to lose like this, and lose so miserably. He thought he would have to fight for another 300 rounds and win by a narrow margin, then stay in the hospital for a few days, and it would be best if he could meet a beautiful nurse. But he won like this. He didn't let him win just to please the Hokage. Yanagi looked at Uchiha Fugaku lying at his feet, and couldn't help but be curious, so he poked him with his foot again to see if he was really dizzy. Hey, hey, hey! I'm talking to you, the examinee. Stop it. No. Stop it. Stop torturing me. I'm dizzy. You've already won, go away. The third generation master is waiting for you in the office. After saying that, he immediately carried Uchiha Fugaku on his back and ran away. He was afraid that if he stayed any longer, who knows what might happen. Hey! Teacher! I really didn't mean it. I was just curious. Chapter 23. Yanagi walked slowly on the bustling streets of Konoha village. On both sides of the street were bustling crowds and various shops. The sounds of hawking and laughter intertwined together, forming a unique lively scene in Konoha. However, Yanagi's heart was turbulent and difficult to calm down. He had obviously just experienced a battle of extraordinary significance. This battle was not only a test of his personal ability, but also a test of him by the Konoha high-level officials or an interference in the village politics. He knew that the third Hokage personally chose Uchiha Fugaku as his opponent, and there were complex political considerations behind this. Fugaku was not only the young patriarch of the Uchiha clan, but also the future patriarch. The outcome of this battle would undoubtedly affect the power structure within Konoha village. Although Yanagi was young, he also knew that no matter whether he won or lost this battle, he and the Uchiha clan had already formed a feud. Yanagi stopped in front of the Hokage's office building, took a deep breath, and sorted out his thoughts. He understood that since he had been noticed by the Konoha high-level officials, and his strength was not yet enough to overturn the table, he had to be cautious in every step in the future. Walking into the Hokage's office building, Yanagi saw the familiar figure of the third Hokage. The Hokage had a gentle smile on his face, but Yanagi knew that behind that amiable smile was a politician's heart that had experienced many vicissitudes and was unfathomable. "Yanagi, you're here." The third Hokage's voice was calm and powerful. Yanagi bowed respectfully and said, "Uncle Third Generation, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting." "It's okay. I've heard your report on the battle this time." "Very good. I originally planned to let Fugaku give you some setbacks, but I didn't expect you to be better than I realized." The third Hokage's words revealed his satisfaction with Yanagi. Although Yanagi had some complaints about some of the third Hokage's actions, he understood that respecting elders and superiors was basic etiquette in Konoha village. He maintained a respectful attitude on the surface, but secretly complained in his heart. He knew that although this old man was not as obsessed with power as Shimura Denso, he also had many problems. The corruption of Konoha had the opportunity to expand because of his intentional or unintentional connivance. The third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, looked at Yanagi's respectful but slightly naughty appearance. Sarutobi, who didn't know that this boy had rebellious intentions, couldn't help but smile. He knew that Yanagi was a young man with potential, and he was straightforward and informal. He was also a descendant of the Senju clan, a true Hokage faction, and was born on his side. "Yanagi, your performance is indeed impressive." The third Hokage said with a smile, "Your fighting skills, wisdom, and courage have all proved that you are an excellent ninja. I still have a lot of shortcomings." Yanagi responded modestly. "Of course, the road of a ninja is endless." The third Hokage nodded in agreement, "However, you have taken a solid first step." As he spoke, Sarutobi Hiruzen took out an exquisite wooden box from a drawer beside him and handed it to Yanagi. Yanagi took the wooden box and opened it. There were several items neatly placed inside, a forehead protector engraved with the logo of Konoha village, a ninja certificate with his name and number printed on it, and some basic ninja equipment. "This is your ninja beginner's gift pack, Yanagi." The third Hokage explained, "The forehead protector represents your identity, and the ninja certificate is your ID card in Konoha village. The number is 009527, I originally wanted to use my birthday, but I'll just pay tribute to it. This is your number in Konoha, and it is also your honor." Yanagi took the forehead protector and certificate with both hands and tied the forehead protector to his forehead. This was the beginning of his legend in the ninja world. "Hokage-sama, I will never let you down," Yanagi said firmly. The third Hokage felt relieved when he saw Yanagi's determined eyes. He knew that the future of Konoha village was guarded by young people like Yanagi. "Go ahead, Yanagi, the sky of Konoha village is waiting for you to soar," the third Hokage encouraged. Yanagi bowed deeply, his heart full of expectations and determination for the future. He knew that this was just the beginning, and his ninja career had just begun. He was turning around and preparing to leave the Hokage office building, ready to meet new challenges. "Oh, one more thing." The voice of the third Hokage suddenly came from behind, and Yanagi almost lost his balance. He turned around and revealed a slightly helpless smile. "Okay, Uncle 3. Yanagi didn't care much about this team. He knew that the most important thing for both himself and the village was the upcoming Chunin exam. As for the team, he believed that the third Hokage would make the most appropriate arrangements. Seeing that the third generation didn't seem to have any other instructions, Yanagi turned around again and prepared to leave. There is one more thing. The Chunin exam will be held in 2 months, so do your best then. The voice of the third Hokage sounded again, this time with a hint of encouragement. I understand, Uncle Sande. I will try my best. Yanagi was more and more helpless. Sande was like his father. Why couldn't he finish everything in one breath? Aren't you afraid of breaking your back? He is still young and doesn't even have a girlfriend. Is Uncle Sande okay now? Yanagi asked again to make sure nothing else happened when he was about to leave. Well, it's okay. Remember to close the door when you go out. There was a hint of relief in the voice of the third Hokage. Yanagi nodded and turned to leave the Hokage office building. He did not notice that after confirming that he had left, the third Hokage had a sly smile on his face. It seems that I need to take a break recently. Biwako has been wanting a child so much recently that she has started to forget herself. I'll live in the Hokage building and work these days. For the sake of the village, she should understand, right? The third Hokage muttered to himself with an awkward smile on his face. He changed his mind and decided to inspect the village first to make sure everything was okay. He began to use the telescope to inspect the village. Let's not talk about the third Hokage who used the telescope to steal, patrol the village, although this pervert stayed in the bathhouse for a little too long. Yanagi has returned home and started celebrating his and Noeka's graduation party with his family. At this moment, the house is filled with a joyful atmosphere and everyone has a happy smile on their face. Noeki also gladly accepted Sarutobi Hiruzen's suggestion to graduate early. Compared with the one in the original time and space, Noeka's strength has made a qualitative leap. All this is due to the strict training he has received with Yanagi since he was a child. Under such high-intensity training, Noeka's strength has been greatly improved, enough to be comparable to or even surpass ordinary Chunin. He is best at physical skills and water escape ninjutsu. After all, he has been beaten and experienced. After the party, Yanagi sat alone on the roof, looking at the stars in the night sky. It was the same night sky as a few years ago, but he was different. Check out the achievements, the rewards for becoming a genin. Chapter 24. In the Uchiha clan territory of Konoha, Uchiha Fugaku had just been discharged from the hospital and returned home. He had lost badly in the battle with Yanagi a few days ago. After returning home, he immediately reported the details of the battle to his father, the current head of the Uchiha clan. Even you can't defeat that thousand-handed brat named Yanagi in shuriken manipulation without using the Sharingan. My father's voice was filled with a hint of surprise and worry. Uchiha Fugaku nodded, a solemn expression on his face. Yes, father. His Uchiha shuriken control technique is no less than mine. Even now, I still don't understand when he broke free from his restraints, or when he used the clone technique to hide his true body. The father frowned, thought for a moment and then said, it seems that the Senju clan has produced another genius like Senju Tobirama. The relationship between our Uchiha clan and the village is already tense. If the Senju clan continues to control Konoha, then the village will eventually have no place for our Uchiha clan. Uchiha Fugaku took a deep breath. He knew that what his father said was true. The current situation was becoming increasingly unfavorable to their Uchiha clan, and they had to find a way to deal with it. Father, during this battle, I discovered something very strange, and that is why I was defeated miserably. Okay. In this battle, I used the Sharingan's ancestral illusion on him, but the strange thing is that even though he was in direct contact with my eyes, the illusion seemed to have no effect on him at all. At this moment, there was a sound of hurried footsteps outside the door. An Uchiha clan member said, Master, the great elders heard that the young clan leader has returned and requested to hold a clan meeting in advance. My father's eyes turned cold. Are they really here? These militants really came here just because they smelled the scent. Uchiha Fugaku clenched his fists, feeling infinite humiliation in his heart. He knew that it was all because of his loss to Yanagi that the fighting faction headed by the great elder, who had always been reluctant to obey his father's management, wanted to use this as an excuse to threaten his father. Uchiha Fugaku's eyes flashed with reluctance. He couldn't accept that he would lose to a young ninja from the Senju clan. He knew that this defeat was not only a personal shame, but also a crisis for the entire Uchiha clan. His father, the current head of the Uchiha clan, also looked extremely serious. He knew that if he didn't handle it well, it would definitely bring turmoil to the clan. The rise of a madman from the fighting faction would only destroy the Uchiha clan. He never allow it. At this moment, the Uchiha clan members outside the door sent another message, "Master, the great elders have gathered in the meeting room, waiting for your attendance." The clan leader stood up, straightened his clothes, and said to Fugaku, "Let's go and meet them. No matter what, the glory of our Uchiha clan cannot be lost in our hands." Uchiha Fugaku and the clan leader walked into the meeting room. The tense atmosphere in the air could almost be cut with a knife. The ninjas of the Dove faction and the clan leader faction were a little nervous. They knew that this was another attempt by the fighting faction to force the emperor to abdicate, and this time they were at a natural disadvantage. The faces of the fighting faction, led by the great elder, were full of dissatisfaction and doubt. Their eyes were like sharp swords, pointing directly at Fugaku and the clan leader. The voice of the great elder echoed in the meeting hall, his words were full of accusations and challenges. "Clan leader, the glory and strength of our Uchiha clan are unquestionable. But Fugaku's defeat is undoubtedly a serious blow to the prestige of our clan. We must take immediate action to restore our status." The clan leader did not panic in the face of the great elder's accusation. His voice was calm and firm, "Great elder, I understand your concerns. But we must remain calm and not make impulsive decisions because of a temporary failure. We need a long-term plan to ensure the glory and status of our clan." Fugaku stood aside, his eyes revealing firmness and determination. He knew that he could not let a temporary defeat affect the future of the entire clan. He took a deep breath and then said, "Great elder, I admit that I lost the battle with Yanagi, which is my personal shame. But next time I will regain the glory of Uchiha myself." When the Uchiha clan was in danger because of themselves, on the edge of Konoha village, on a wide training ground, the figures of Yanagi and Nawaka stretched out in the sunset. The surrounding trees swayed gently in the breeze, making rustling sounds, as if cheering for the two people's training. The ninja tools and pits on the ground of the training ground witnessed their unremitting efforts and sweat. The third generation has already informed the two about the team formation in the Chunin exam. Yanagi will participate in the Chunin exam alone, so that the crushing will be more effective. And Nawaka will form a temporary team with Uchiha and Hyuga Suzuran to participate in this exam. Yanagi guided Nawaseki in various ninjutsu training, from basic physical skills to complex ninjutsu, and every movement required precision. Although Nawaseki was still young, his talent and potential were definitely not low. If he had not lost his life too early, he would at least have become an elite jonin. Nawaki, the first round of the Chunin exam will most likely be a test of theoretical knowledge, and it will probably be a written test, so don't forget to review. Although I am not good at studying, I will definitely have no problem passing the Chunin exam. Nawaka started his pretentious journey again, although he didn't look handsome at all. Yanagi smiled slightly. He knew Nawaka's personality, and also understood his strengths and weaknesses. But I feel that the written test will be a test of intelligence gathering. After all, for a Chunin, the ability to gather intelligence is more important than theoretical knowledge. Yanagi continued, Nawaka was really too careless about this aspect, otherwise he would not have been so brave to step into someone else's trap in the war. Nawaka nodded. Although he was simple and honest, he also understood that Yanagi was doing this for his own good. So, he began to think carefully about what Yanagi said, and deeply realized that only by making full preparations in all aspects could he achieve excellent results in the Chunin exam. Yanagi continued to patiently instruct Nawase, and they began to simulate various intelligence-gathering scenarios. Yanagi asked Nawase to try to use special means to obtain the required information under his close supervision. If he failed, he would be able to enter another important training link of the Chunin exam: actual combat drills, beating. In order to avoid being beaten, Nawaka tried his best to learn and master the skills of intelligence work. However, even so, he was inevitably caught on the spot by Yanagi more than a dozen times, and what followed was naturally more than a dozen rounds of inhumane high-intensity special training. Yanagi, I told you a long time ago not to play with your sister all the time. Look at you now, you're a replica of your sister. You don't know how to control your strength when you hit me. Ouch, it hurts so much. Nawaka completely forgot that he had a special property that he would be caught 100% if he said bad things about others behind their backs, and once again embarked on the road of no return to his own death. Nawaka. Chapter 25. As the Chunin exam of the ninja world is approaching, Konoha village has become more lively than ever. Ninjas and businessmen from all over the world have flocked to this holy land of ninjas, making the originally quiet little village bustling with people, full of various languages and cultures. On both sides of the street, colorful flags fluttered in the wind, and various stalls were filled with a wide variety of goods. Merchants enthusiastically hawked and displayed their goods, ranging from exquisite ninja tools to practical equipment, from rare herbs to various snacks. Ninjas and tourists shuttled among them, picking out the items they were interested in, and the sounds of transactions and laughter intertwined, creating a festive atmosphere. The residents of Konoha village also participated in the preparations for this grand event. They cleaned the streets, decorated the houses, and set up various colored lights and banners to ensure that every visiting guest could enjoy the warmest hospitality. The children were even more excited. They ran on the streets, discussing various topics about the Chunin exam and looking forward to their dreams of becoming powerful ninjas in the future. As the exam day approaches, ninjas from other ninja villages are arriving in Konoha village one after another, led by the elites of their respective villages. Their arrival not only brings more vitality, but also brings some tension and competition. Small frictions and conflicts between ninjas begin to increase, which forces the police force of Konoha village to work overtime to ensure the order and safety of the village. However, in all this excitement and tension, Yanagi and Naoki maintained their calm and composure. They focused on their daily training and did not participate too much in the hustle and bustle of the village. In their spare time, they liked to take Kushina and other friends to look for delicious food and enjoy the delicious food of Konoha village. At this time, the legendary Otsutsuki Ichiraku family also came to Konoha village and decided to settle here. Although Otsutsuki Ichiraku is still a teenager, he has already started working in his own ramen shop. After Yanagi learned the news, he immediately took Kushina and other friends to Ichiraku ramen shop. They tasted Ichiraku ramen. Although it tasted good, Yanagi felt that it did not reach the top taste in his mind. In contrast, Tsunade and other friends seemed to like this shop more. They often visited and enjoyed the food and atmosphere here. As the Chunin exam approaches, every corner of Konoha village is filled with anticipation and tension. Ninjas, merchants, and residents, everyone is participating in this grand exam in their own way. And Yanagi and his friends are enjoying their own peace and happiness in this bustle. This is a grand event for ninjas, and it is also a moment for Konoha village to show its charm to the world. Although Naoki and Yanagi had arrived at the entrance of the Chunin exam very early, there were still a lot of genin at the entrance of the first exam. These young ninjas gathered in groups of 3 or 5, chatting and exchanging their nervousness and expectations before the exam. They were naturally divided into several areas according to their respective ninja villages, and the ninjas in each area had their own unique style and logo. If it weren't for the Chunin exam, they might have fought a long time ago. When everyone present saw Yanagi and his companions coming, they all cast curious and scrutinizing glances at them. As ninjas from Konoha village, their arrival undoubtedly caused a small commotion. Other ninja villages were only curious because this group looked younger than the average age of normal genin, but the genin of Konoha knew Yanagi and his companions better. They were all a team of geniuses selected by the village for the large-scale Chunin exam in the ninja world. Among them, Yanagi was specially approved to form a single team. It can be imagined that the third Hokage was optimistic about his ability. They are all geniuses of the ninja clan. When will we civilian ninjas have such geniuses? Have you heard? The round-faced guy is the grandson of the first Hokage. Humph, that Uchiha brat looks really arrogant. He has been displeased with the Uchiha clan for a long time. He relies on the police force to show off his power in the village every day. If I meet him, I will definitely teach him a lesson. That girl from the Hyuga clan is so pretty, but it's a pity that she's from the Hyuga clan and won't marry outside the clan. Didn't you see the caged bird on her forehead? It's from the branch family. She's so pretty, so she's just a bargain for those people from the main family. As the Konoha genin whispered, other villages also obtained information through their own means. It seems that these people are all young geniuses of Konoha. If he can defeat or even kill them in this Chunin exam, then his future in the village will be decided. Be quiet, you bunch of idiots. At some point, the invigilators appeared on the podium. Let's draw lots to arrange seats. Everyone line up properly. Anyone who makes trouble will be eliminated. The people below slowly came up in order to draw lots. The people under Yanagi were all dispersed and everyone quickly found a seat to sit down. The examiner looked around and saw that everyone was seated. He then continued to introduce the exam rules. I am the examiner of this exam, Moonlight Black and White. I will only explain the following rules once. Rule 1, the test time is 60 minutes, and there are 10 questions in total. Each of you will start with 10 points, and then the test will be based on a deduction system. For each question you do not answer or answer incorrectly, you will lose 1 point. If you get 3 questions wrong, you will lose 7 points. If you answer all the questions correctly, you will get full marks. The candidates in the examination room began to silently calculate in their minds how to get the best results in this exam. Rule 2, whether or not you pass the test is calculated based on the average score of the team. This caused many candidates to reconsider their strategies. They knew that the team performance was crucial in this exam, and members who might fall behind would begin to face the murderous gazes of other teammates. Rule 3, if you are caught cheating once, you will be deducted 2 points. If you are caught cheating 5 times, you will be kicked out with your teammates. The candidates were startled. They knew that the invigilators were all experienced chunins and no small movements would escape their eyes. Don't try to cheat past us with your poor cheating skills. The invigilators are all carefully selected chunins from Konoha and will not give you a chance. Well, if you want to pass the chunin exam, then pass it according to the standards of an excellent ninja. The last rule is, if anyone on the team gets 0 points, all members of the team will be eliminated immediately. This news made the atmosphere in the examination room even more tense. The candidates knew that they were not only responsible for themselves, but also for their teammates. The exam started, and the examination room was silent, with only the sound of the pen tip sliding on the test paper. The candidates concentrated on answering each question, knowing that every point was crucial. As time passed, the atmosphere in the examination room became increasingly tense. Candidates began to feel the pressure of having to complete all the questions within the specified time while avoiding making mistakes. In the process, people were caught cheating and the whole team was eliminated. Of course, there were many other cheating methods, such as judging the answer by sound, puppetry, and seeing through with the white eyes. The exam is over. Hand in your paper. When the time was up, everyone put down their pens and waited for the invigilator to collect the test papers. The list of teams that passed the test will be announced in the afternoon bulletin board, please go check it out. Chapter 26. Hey, kid, are you the Yanagi who Konoha has recently promoted as the one who defeated the young chief of the Uchiha clan? The voice was rough and powerful, with a bit of curiosity and challenge. Yanagi turned around and saw a dark-skinned, muscular man in front of him. He was wearing the ninja uniform of the Hidden Cloud Village and the forward protector of the Hidden Cloud Village, and he looked majestic. The man's eyes flashed with a desire for the strong and a love for fighting. It was obvious that he was a ninja who was eager to fight with the strong. Yanagi smiled slightly. He knew that his recent reputation in Konoha village had attracted the attention of many people. His feat of defeating the young patriarch of the Uchiha clan made him a leader among the younger generation of Konoha village. It was obvious that the elders led by the third Hokage had done this. It was probably because Danzo, the sewer rat, failed to recruit him and used the name of doing good for the village. On the surface, it was to make a name for himself and to get a better effect for the deterrence plan of the Chunin exam. In fact, it was to cause a conflict between the Senju and Uchiha clans so that he could benefit from it. However, for him, the benefits outweighed the disadvantages. As for the revenge behind him, he would be found sooner or later. Yes, I am Yanagi. Yanagi replied with a confident and calm tone. He was not disturbed by the other party's provocation, but seemed very calm. The man from the Hidden Cloud Village looked at Yanagi and nodded, "My name is Ai. I heard that you are very strong. I hope you can satisfy me in this Chunin exam." Yanagi was slightly stunned, not because of the strong fighting spirit emanating from the man named Ai in front of him. Rather, the name Ai, if he remembered correctly, seemed to be the Raikage in Naruto. Among the major ninja villages, the Hidden Cloud Village is second only to Konoha, and several of the Raikage are very powerful and brave. In addition, there are indeed many beauties in the Hidden Cloud Village. I will let you see the power of Konoha, provided you don't get eliminated. Although he is a powerful character in the original work, not to mention that he has not reached the peak of his strength yet, even if he really is, he has the confidence to save his life in a one-on-one fight. Ai didn't get angry after hearing what Yanagi said, but laughed out loud, "Very good, I admire your courage and confidence. However, I also want to remind you that I hope your strength can support your big talk, ha 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 ha." The tit-for-tat between the two became the focus of the originally noisy classroom. Obtaining intelligence may have been engraved into the DNA of ninjas. In the office of the third Hokage, the elder's eyes penetrated the newly invented surveillance equipment, as sharp as a hawk, firmly locking every corner of the Chunin exam. There was an indescribable tension in the air, as if even the dust felt the coming storm. It's really unexpected that the son of the third Raikage has also joined this competition. Shimura Danzo's voice was filled with a hint of surprise, and his eyes swept across the young faces on the screen, as if looking for something. Sarutobi, it seems that the other ninja villages attach much more importance to this Chunin examination than we expected. Inside the office, the spacious and bright space is dotted with the light of high-tech surveillance equipment. Members of the Elders' Council sit around a table, their eyes jumping across the screen as if looking for the key to victory on the battlefield. Elder Mightaman took over the topic, his voice filled with unquestionable authority. Indeed, according to the in-depth investigation of our intelligence team, this Chunin exam has gathered many dazzling new stars, each of whom is the pride of their respective ninja villages. The intelligence information held tightly in his hand seemed to carry a heavy weight. As he spoke, the information was passed among the elders, and each piece of paper recorded the opponent's strength and background. Mightaman continued, AI from the Hidden Cloud Village is famous for his amazing strength. Yagura from the Hidden Mist Village has already become a guard of the Mizu Cage at a young age. Huang Tu from the Hidden Rock Village is also a young genius in Earth Escape, and the Hidden Sand Village spared no expense and sent out Raza and Yagura who possess bloodline limits. As Elder Mightaman introduced the story, the atmosphere in the office became more solemn. Every elder had a look of deep worry on their faces. They were clearly aware that facing so many powerful enemies, it would undoubtedly be an arduous battle for Konoha village to win the Chunin exam. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes flashed with a sharp light. He knew that this Chunin exam was not only a severe test for young ninjas, but also a stage for the strength of major ninja villages to compete. He took a deep breath of his pipe, and in the smoke, his thoughts seemed to rise slowly with the smoke. We have made all the necessary preparations, and the new generation of ninjas in Konoha have also shown impressive strength and potential. Sarutobi Hiruzen's voice was firm and powerful. He listed the names of several young ninjas. In addition to Yanagi, we also have Noeki, Uchiha-en, Hyuga Hayashi, Hyuga Hisashi, etc. They are all the pride of Konoha. I believe that they can show their strength in this Chunin exam and win glory for Konoha village. Shimura Danzo frowned slightly, his eyes revealed a trace of worry, but soon regained his composure. Sarutobi, although our young ninjas of Konoha are quite powerful, we cannot take it lightly when facing the geniuses sent by other villages. We must ensure that nothing goes wrong and that the glory of Konoha is not threatened in any way. Yuditen Koharu and Mightaman also nodded in agreement, their eyes flashing with expectations for Konoha's future and the importance they attached to this exam. They knew that this Chunin exam was not only a test for young ninjas, but also a demonstration of the overall strength of Konoha village. They must ensure that Konoha can achieve excellent results in this exam to maintain Konoha's leadership in the ninja world. We have strengthened monitoring of the examination site to ensure the fairness and safety of the examination. Mightaman added, at the same time, we will also pay close attention to the movements of other villages to prevent any possible accidents. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, full of trust and expectation for the young ninjas. Very good, then let us wait and see what wonderful performance these young ninjas can show in this Chunin exam. I believe they will not let us down. As the discussion of the elders came to an end, their eyes turned to the surveillance equipment again, paying close attention to every detail of the Chunin exam. This battle was not only a battle of honor for Konoha, but also a battle of strategic deterrence. It was necessary to win with an advantage to ensure that Konoha village could achieve the final victory in the turmoil of the ninja world. Chapter 27. After enjoying a sumptuous meal of ninja food, Yanagi, Noeki, and the others went to the results notification office with satisfied smiles. They walked briskly and their faces were filled with confidence, and they were obviously full of confidence in passing the exam. Many young ninjas gathered at the results announcement area, waiting for the results to be announced with some nervousness or excitement. However, Yanagi and Noeki and others seemed particularly calm, joking with each other, and the relaxed atmosphere formed a sharp contrast with the tension around them. Look, the results are out. Noeki pointed to the bulletin board in front of him, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. Everyone quickly gathered around, only to see the bulletin board filled with the names of ninjas who had passed the exam. They quickly scanned the list, looking for their own names. No one was afraid that they would not pass. After all, they were all young geniuses, and intelligence gathering was easy, and several people really passed. Notice. Please assemble at the original examination room, ninja teams that have passed. The ninjas who passed the first round of the exam entered the examination room one after another, ready to face the next challenge. Yanagi, Noeki, and others also followed the crowd into the examination room, their eyes scanning the examination room, observing the ninjas from other villages. The seats in the examination room were obviously much emptier than during the written test in the morning, and many seats were empty, which showed that quite a few ninjas were indeed eliminated in the first round of examinations. It seems that a lot of people were eliminated in the last round. As soon as Nawake walked into the examination room, he found that compared with the full scene during the written test in the morning, there were obviously many more spaces between them now, but judging from the forward protectors, Konoha's genin still had the advantage in terms of number. Who knows what tricks you guys in Konoha are doing behind the scenes? A mocking female voice came from the side. Turning around, I found that the one who spoke was a little girl from the Sand Village's 2-girl and 1-boy Sand Ninja team wearing a forward protector. She had dark green hair tied into a cute bun, with yellow bangs hanging down from her cheeks, looking playful and cute. She had a slender figure, a standard oval face with a bit of disdain, and a cool outfit that set off her growing figure. The most eye-catching thing was the snow-white back she exposed, which made people take a second look. Yanagi even sighed that it was a pity not to use cupping. Yanagi didn't react to the girl's words. He felt that according to the style of the elders, although they couldn't blatantly eliminate ninjas from other villages, it was still possible to relax a little on his side. He always felt that the girl looked familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen her. But the Nawake next to him couldn't help but accept that people from other villages slandered his grandfather's hard work and glory Konoha Ninja Village. What did you say? We in Konoha are not like you in the Sand Village who always like to do little tricks behind other countries. Nawake retorted angrily. Shimi. Do you want to be beaten? The girl refused to be outdone and looked at Nawake provocatively. The air in the examination room seemed to freeze, and the tense atmosphere could almost be cut with a knife. The eyes of other ninjas were focused on the dispute of Yekang's group like searchlights, with curiosity, doubt, and even gloating mixed in their eyes. Yakura, we are not here to quarrel. There will be plenty of opportunities for you to teach Konoha's ninja a lesson later. As the tension between the two grew, the boy next to Yekang used a cold voice to stop the situation from escalating further. Luo Shat, stop acting like a captain. You are such a coward. I really don't know why Lord Feng Ying chose you. Yet, Luo Shat is doing this for our own good. After all, this is not our Sand Village. You two, Sand, don't be so cold to each other all the time. The last girl in the Yekang trio gently pulled Yekang's sleeve, using her gentle voice and attitude to ease the tense atmosphere like a spring breeze. Obviously, both of them listened to her words, and they glared at each other without saying anything more. I'm really sorry, we are ninjas from the Sand Village. You should know their names. My name is Garuru. The girl has short sandy brown hair that reaches her shoulders, and her indigo eyes reveal infinite tenderness. It's okay, it's just a misunderstanding. Yanagi felt that the names of these people were very familiar. A light bulb suddenly lit up in his mind and he remembered that these were Gaara's parents, and the unlucky hero Yakura from the Sand Village who was betrayed by his own village. They were actually on the same team. What are you looking at? You haven't seen enough after looking for so long. Don't you have any beauties in Konoha? Yekang had long been annoyed with this handsome boy who kept staring at his back with lustful eyes, but his attention was attracted by another round-faced boy in front of him. Quiet. I am Konoha's Jonin Sarutobi Ryoma. Now all the examinees present here follow me. Sarutobi Ryoma began to gather the students, and all the examinees' eyes were focused on him. There was a hint of seriousness in his voice, and it was clear that the upcoming exam was going to be very serious. This is the location of the second examination, the 44th training ground. Also known as the Great Forest of Death. Sarutobi Ryoma's words echoed in the air, and every word struck heavily on the hearts of the examinees. As Sarutobi Ryoma finished speaking, the entire examination room fell into a dead silence, with only his voice echoing in the air, as if even the wind had stopped blowing. Most of the examinees' eyes were filled with shock and uneasiness, as many of them were hearing about this dreaded place for the first time. The 44th training ground, also known as the Great Forest of Death, is a place full of unknowns and dangers. The examinees could not help but feel a chill in their hearts. The Great Forest of Death is the most commonly used venue for the Konoha Chunin exams, and it is also one of the most suitable outdoor examination venues for testing the comprehensive capabilities of a genin team. At the entrance of the forest, the trees are towering, and the branches and leaves are so dense that the sunlight is almost blocked, as if nature has deliberately covered this land with a mysterious veil. The tree trunks are covered with traces of time moss, which glows with a faint green light in the weak light, looking ancient and mysterious. The sunlight tries hard to penetrate the numerous obstacles and can only cast mottled light and shadows on the ground. Occasionally, the roar of unknown wild animals from the depths of the forest broke the silence and made people shudder. The candidates stood at the edge of the forest, and they could feel an invisible pressure slowly coming from the depths of the dark forest, as if countless pairs of eyes were secretly watching them. As the name suggests, there are forces everywhere in this forest that can take people's lives. But for the genin who are taking part in the Chunin exam, what is more terrifying than the beasts that may appear at any time is the competitors that may appear at any time. Not only do they have to survive in the forest, but they also have to face the challenges and competitions of other candidates, and even killings. Sarutobi Ryoma continued to announce the rules of the assessment. His voice was clear and firm. The rules of this assessment are very simple. It is a battle for the scrolls of heaven and earth. Each team present will be given a scroll, one of the scrolls of heaven and earth. The candidates exchanged glances with each other. They knew that this would be a contest that would test both their survivability and their combat skills. Within 5 days, everyone must not only survive in the Death Forest, but also collect 2 scrolls before the deadline and reach the finish line, which is the tallest tower. Those who fail to arrive within the specified time or fail to collect both scrolls will be eliminated. Team members who are not complete will also be eliminated, and the last scroll cannot be opened. There was a hint of cruelty in Sarutobi Ryoma's words. The candidates felt nervous, as they knew that this task was far more difficult than any previous exam. In order to give you time to adjust, the teams here will be broken up into different orders and enter through different entrances. Come here now and sign this consent form. After signing, everyone's life will no longer be protected. You will be responsible for your own lives. Sarutobi Ryoma pointed to the table beside him, where a stack of consent forms were placed. The candidates lined up and signed their names one by one. Every stroke was like adding a heavy weight to the scale of fate. The moment they signed their names, they realized that they would have to rely entirely on their own strength to survive in this forest of death. As the last candidate signed his name, Sarutobi Ryoma announced, "Then, the second stage of the Chunin exam begins now." His voice echoed at the entrance of the forest, as if it was a battle horn. All teams quickly entered through the arranged entrances. The earlier you enter this exam, the more likely you are to seize the opportunity. Whether it is arranging subsequent traps or familiarizing yourself with the environment and waiting for opportunities, it takes time. Chapter 28. The sun shines through the dense leaves, dappling in this peaceful forest. Yanagi stands quietly in the shadow of a towering tree, his eyes calm and deep, as if he can see through everything. The Death Forest has not seen the sun for a long time, and it seems to be full of dangers. Occasionally, the roar of unknown animals in the distance adds a bit of gloom and horror to this forest. Yanagi had deliberately displayed the scroll of earth in his hand at the place where he received the scroll. That was part of his elaborate plan. He knew that such behavior would attract the attention of those greedy and ambitious ninjas. They were like sharks smelling blood and could not resist such temptation. He also rejected the idea of reunion requested by Nawaki and others, because he needed to act alone to ensure the smooth progress of the plan. He deliberately made himself look like he was separated from the team, so that the ninjas would think he was an easy target. Now is the time to close the net. That guy is a human. Haha, God is helping me. It looks like we can collect all the scrolls. One of them said excitedly, his voice full of greed and pride. Well, but be careful, the other party may be difficult to deal with. Another person warned, with a hint of caution in his voice. What are you afraid of? There are so many of us, can't we beat one person? The third man's voice was full of contempt and confidence. That's right. And judging from his appearance, he seems to be a Konoha ninja. He must have gotten separated from his team. Hehe, I've been annoyed with these ninjas from big countries for a long time. It doesn't matter if I kill him today. Someone echoed, his tone revealing his dissatisfaction and hostility towards the Konoha ninjas. Yanagi smiled slightly, knowing that the ninjas had fallen into his trap. He gently adjusted his forehead protector to make sure it was snug against his forehead, then slowly stepped out of the shadows to face the ninjas who were plotting. Hey, people from the Kyuzagakure village, you guys are plotting so loudly. Didn't your school teach you to hide? Yanagi said calmly, his voice calm and firm, without a trace of fear or tension. The ninjas were startled by the sudden appearance of Yanagi, as they did not expect Yanagi to discover their presence so quickly. They showed expressions of surprise and uneasiness on their faces, but soon regained their confidence. Humph, since you've heard it, just hand over the scroll of earth in your hand honestly, otherwise don't blame us for being rude. The leading ninja sneered contemptuously, their weapons clenched in their hands, ready to attack at any time. If you want, come and get it. Uncles from the Kyuzagakuer village. Yanagixia gently shook the scroll of earth in his hand. Yanagi's contempt for himself obviously angered the three grass ninjas in front of him. He was obviously only 18 years old, although he looked a little older. Damn it! Do it! Get rid of him quickly! Following the order from the leading ninja, the three Kusanagi ninjas quickly launched an offensive. Their movements were swift and coordinated, and they were obviously trained and coordinated over a long period of time. The three attacked Yanagi from different directions, attempting to suppress Yanagi with their numerical advantage. Yanagi dodged the first round of attacks easily with a flick of his body. His movements were light and swift, like a gust of wind in the forest, elusive. His eyes were sharp, observing every ninja's movements and intentions. It seems that you still haven't learned how to hide your intentions. Yanagi mocked while dodging, with a hint of amusement in his voice. The Kusanagi were enraged by Yanagi's provocation and attacked more fiercely. However, no matter how hard they tried, they seemed unable to touch Yanagi. Yanagi was like a nimble deer, moving through the forest and avoiding all attacks. At this moment, Yanagi suddenly stopped and looked into the depths of the forest. There, other ninjas were hiding, watching, and waiting for the best opportunity to strike. What are you waiting for? Do you want to see me defeated and then reap the benefits? Yanagi shouted loudly, his voice echoing in the forest. The hidden ninjas were startled by Yanagi's words. They realized that they had been discovered. Judging from the situation, Yanagi was definitely a seed player of Konoha. If they could take him down, no matter whether they could pass the test or not, they would get a lot of rewards in the village. Thinking of this, everyone chose to jump out from behind the trees and the bushes, and joined the battle together. They tacitly chose to take down the Konoha kid in front of them first. The battle became more intense, and Yanagi was no longer facing three people, but a group of ninjas. However, he did not show any fear or panic. Instead, a glimmer of excitement flashed in his eyes. This is quite interesting, Yanagi said in a low voice. His body began to move quickly. He took out his red blood sword but did not unsheath it. He still needed to save their lives to spread his name. Yanagi quickly launched a counterattack, his figure shuttled among the ninjas, and each attack accurately hit the opponent's vital points. The ninjas fell one after another, their eyes full of disbelief. The battle ended quickly, and Yanagi stood there, surrounded by fallen ninjas. He gently adjusted his forehead protector, then took away everyone's scrolls, all of which were scrolls of heaven, and smiled with satisfaction. It seems that today's harvest is not bad. Those guys holding the scroll of earth are blessed. Yanagi said to himself, then turned and left the forest to continue his journey. While fishing for a dozen small fish under the willow, at the same time, at the other end of the forest, Noeki and his teammates were in a tense confrontation. They had just finished a battle and had just found a safe place to restore their strength and chakra, but they ran into trouble. As the most sensitive ninja in the team, Hyuga Suzuran was very aware of the surroundings. Her Byakugan ability allowed her to see through the surroundings and even sense the flow of chakra. When she discovered that three chakra sources were approaching quickly, she immediately woke up Noeki and Uchiha-en who were resting. Siju and Uchiha-en, there are three chakra sources in the east that are rapidly approaching us. Judging from the chakra, it is the Sand Village team from before. It seems that they are coming for us. Noeki and Uchiha-en immediately woke up from their resting state. They quickly stood up and prepared for battle. That's perfect. I couldn't teach them a lesson in the exam room last time. I'm going to teach them a lesson this time. Mr. Noeki, don't be careless. From the perception of chakra, none of them are weak. Hinata Suzuran saw that Noeki decided to remind her so decisively. She must not be careless because she has her reasons for advancing. Humph, the Sand Village is just a bunch of guys who can only do small tricks behind the scenes. In front of the power of me, Uchiha, they will only be defeated. Uchiha-yan was still so cold, arrogant, and confident. Hinata Suzuran said nothing more after hearing this, and continued to use her Byakugan to closely monitor the enemy's movements. She could sense that the enemy was very close. Chapter 29. Coming. Following Hyuga Suzuran's gentle warning, the Sand Village team Yekang, Jiaoyuo, and Luosha appeared on the battlefield. Yekang stared at Noeki provocatively with a contemptuous smile, seeming to enjoy the confrontation in front of him. "Little round face, we meet again. This time you are not so lucky to get the protection of the Invigilator." Ye Kang, with a proud face, stared at the prey in front of him with interest. "Hey! My name is Naoki, stop calling me little round face. I should be the one saying that. This time I will let you see how powerful the Konoha ninjas are." Naoki waved his hand, and his index finger pointed directly at Ye Kang. Luo Sha calmly analyzed the situation and quickly assigned opponents to each person. His tone revealed unquestionable authority. "Hey, Ye Kang, I'll leave this fat guy to you. Jiaoyuo, you go deal with the guy from the Haiga branch, and leave the Uchiha guy to me. I'll quickly deal with him and then support you. I told you not to act like a deputy captain in front of me." Although Ye Kang was somewhat dissatisfied with Luo Sha's order, she still chose to obey it. After all, teamwork is crucial on the battlefield. Jiaoyuo Luo accepted the task in silence, his expression calm, ready for the upcoming battle. Uchiha Yan faced Luo Sha's provocation and laughed in anger. There was an unyielding light in his eyes. "Get rid of me quickly? Then let me see your strength." His figure rushed towards Luo Sha like an arrow. Hinata Sozuran wanted to stop Uchiha Yan's impulse, but before she could finish her words, Uchiha Yan had already rushed into the battlefield. She knew that she had to face the enemy in front of her, so she took a deep breath and prepared to fight Jiaoyuo. "I won't let you interfere with their fight." With a smile on his face, Garuru stopped Hinata Sozuran steadily. The battle horn echoed in the forest. The duel between the 6 ninjas was like a carefully choreographed dance, and every move was full of power and wisdom. Ye Kang's scorch release ninjutsu was extremely powerful. The air around her was distorted by the high temperature, as if the entire space was under her control. The fireballs seemed to be given life. When they passed through the air, they not only left a series of dazzling fiery red tracks, but also accompanied by scorching air waves, making people feel a power that could almost melt everything. Facing such an attack, Naoki seemed unusually calm. After all, he had learned to survive since he was a child when he was beaten by the abnormally strong Yanagi. He might not be the strongest in combat, but when it comes to dodging and saving his life, he is quite good at it. His body shuttled between the fireballs, and every movement seemed so precise and smooth. His eyes were fixed on Ye Kang, and he predicted the timing and trajectory of the fireball by observing her hand gestures, tiny body movements, and even the rhythm of her breathing. Although the fireballs were powerful, their flying speed and direction in the air were relatively fixed, which gave Naoki enough time to react. He used his excellent physical skills and well-trained water escape techniques to jump and roll in the gaps between the fireballs like a clever cat, skillfully avoiding the attacks again and again. "Damn it, you little round-faced guy, you are a monkey. Come on, face me." Ye Kang became furious after constantly missing. "Hit me if you dare, idiot, I'm coming again, I'm slipping away again, Leal Leal." Naoki dodged and provoked Ye Kang, trying to disrupt her rhythm. While dodging, Naoki's brain was also running at high speed, analyzing Ye Kang's attack pattern and possible flaws. He knew that when a scorch release ninja maintained such a high-intensity attack, it would inevitably consume a lot of chakra. As long as he could find the right opportunity, he could launch a counterattack. On the other side, Garuru's wind ninjutsu was extremely powerful under the blessing of her weapon. The trees in the forest seemed to be shaking, and leaves and dust were swept into the air, forming a huge vortex. The wind was howling, making a deafening sound, as if it was going to swallow everything. However, under the ravages of this natural force, Hyaga Sozuran was like an elegant dancer, her long hair and hem fluttering in the wind, but her steps were extremely firm. Hinata Sozuran's Byakugan ability allowed her to maintain a clear vision in this chaos. Her eyes were able to see through every subtle change in the whirlwind, capturing Garuru's position and movements in the wind. Her body seemed to have reached some kind of tacit understanding with the wind, and she moved lightly with the ups and downs of the wind, cleverly using the wind force to enhance her mobility. Although Garuru's attack was fierce, Hyaga Sozuran was not frightened. She knew that although the wind-style ninjutsu could create a powerful whirlwind, it also required the ninja to concentrate to control it. During Garuru's attack, she was looking for that moment of slackness, which was an inevitable moment when Garuru maintained the wind-style ninjutsu. Uchiha En was in a tough battle. Luo Sha's magnetic ninjutsu was indeed cunning and powerful. He could control the gold sand through chakra, making it an extension of his attack and defense. Under Luo Sha's command, the gold dust was like a giant golden python, circling and dancing in the air, and pounced on Uchiha Yan. The luster of the gold dust shone in the sun, but under this beautiful light, there was a deadly danger hidden. Uchiha Yan did not give up easily in the face of Luo Sha's magnetic ninjutsu. He knew that the control of magnetic ninjutsu required Luo Sha to concentrate highly, so he began to use shuriken to interfere. The shuriken drew arcs in the air, not only forcing Luo Sha to be distracted to deal with it, but also creating an opportunity for Uchiha Yan himself to get close. Uchiha Yan's physical skills are also not to be underestimated. His movements are swift and precise, and every jump and roll is particularly powerful. He used the physical skills he had practiced for many years to skillfully move through the gaps in the gold sand. Although every step was difficult, he did not give up his intention to get close to Luosha. However, Luosha's gold sand defense network was too dense, and every step forward of Uchiha Yan was accompanied by huge risks. Gold dust flew around him, occasionally brushing against the corners of his clothes, and even a few grains of gold dust scratched his skin, leaving tiny blood marks. Uchiha Yan gritted his teeth, enduring the pain, firmly believing that as long as he could get close, he could use Uchiha swordsmanship to win and prove the glory of Uchiha. Although Raza was in the upper hand in the battle with Uchiha En, he was unable to defeat such an unknown young ninja from the Uchiha family, and he couldn't help but admire the talented people in Konoha village. After all, he was the direct disciple of the third Kazekage. And the opponent in front of him, at a glance, could be seen as just a young man who had just graduated. However, it was amazing that such a young man could resist his attack for so long. Looking at his teammates, they were also in a stalemate, with no clear winner. Obviously, this battle could not be ended in a short time. If it continued to drag on, I am afraid that something might change. Without further ado, Luo Shan knew that he had to adopt some strategies at this moment, so he decided to use a psychological strategy. All Uchiha ninjas are like rats like you, who can only dodge and evade. It's so embarrassing. Luo Shan used provocative words, trying to anger Uchiha Yan and disrupt his mentality. Sure enough, under the stimulation of words, Uchiha Yan, who had been able to barely hold on, was so angry that he chose to forcibly break through Luo Sha's gold sand. Chapter 30. Luo Sha's provocation was like an extremely sharp knife, ruthlessly piercing Uchiha Yan's proud self-esteem. As a member of the Uchiha family, how could he tolerate such an insult to the Uchiha? But facing the relentless attack of Luosha's magnetic ninjutsu, Uchiha Yan felt unprecedented pressure and challenge. Uchiha Yan began to feel powerless. Luosha's gold dust was like a huge net that could not be escaped, constantly tightening and restricting his movements. Anger was like a raging fire, burning wildly in the depths of his heart. Uchiha Yan only felt a sudden burning sensation in his eyes, as if there was a ball of blazing flame burning in his eye sockets. He suddenly opened his eyes, but was shocked to find that the whole world in front of him had quietly changed. At this moment, Luo Sha's every move became extremely clear in his eyes, and even the flight trajectory of the gold dust seemed to become much slower. Everything was under control. There was no doubt that this was the power that the Uchiha family was proud of, the power of the Sharingan. With the opening of the Sharingan, Uchiha En's strength has been greatly improved. This not only means that his vision has been enhanced, but also means that he has an extraordinary keen insight into the flow of chakra and the movements of his opponents. At this moment, his unique Sharingan shone with bright red light, and the two Megatamas spun rapidly around his pupils like agile elves, emitting a mysterious and powerful aura. It was with this magical power that Uchiha Yan was able to see through the opponent's intentions, accurately predict the direction of his attack, and even resist the illusion cast by the enemy to some extent. See clearly. Your attacks are meaningless in front of these eyes, you have no chance. Uchiha Yan's voice was full of determination and confidence, and his eyes flashed with the red light of the Sharingan, as if he could see through everything. Oh? Is this the Uchiha's Sharingan? There is indeed some trick to it. There was a hint of surprise in Luosha's voice, but he quickly regained his calmness and confidence. However, if you want to reverse the situation with just this, you are underestimating me. Raza increased the output of chakra, and the storm of gold sand became more violent. His figure was looming under the cover of the gold sand, trying to get rid of the inside of the Sharingan. Uchiha En stared closely at Raza's every move. The inside of the Sharingan allowed him to capture Raza's every move. Even in the storm of gold sand, Raza's figure was no longer elusive. Your magnetic escape is indeed powerful, but do you think it is enough to stop me? Uchiha Yan sneered. His body suddenly accelerated, like a black lightning, shuttling through the storm of gold sand. The short sword in his hand danced, and every swing made a sound of breaking through the air, pointing directly at Luo Sha's vital points. The power of the Sharingan made his swordsmanship more accurate and deadly, and even Luo Sha had to deal with it seriously. Luo Sha's eyes flashed with solemnity. He didn't expect that Uchiha Yan's strength would be so improved after opening the Sharingan. He began to re-evaluate the opponent in front of him, knowing that he could no longer underestimate him as before. It seems that I have to be more serious. Luo Sha said in a deep voice, his hands quickly forming seals, preparing to perform more powerful ninjutsu to fight against Uchiha Yan. Magnetic style. Gold sand rain. The gold dust that was originally all over the place changed under Luo Sha's precise control. Every grain of sand seemed to be given life. They rotated and condensed in the air, gradually elongated and thinned, and finally turned into countless slender needles. This scene was like a miracle of nature. The gold dust was no longer a heavy attack, but became light, sharp, and full of deadly beauty. These long needles of gold dust were as fine as spring rain, covering the entire battlefield. Under Luo Sha's command, they flew at different trajectories and speeds, forming an almost inescapable attack network. In the sunlight, these long needles reflected dazzling light, like countless twinkling stars, beautiful but dangerous. Facing such an attack, Uchiha Yan felt unprecedented pressure. He knew that the attack range and accuracy of these long needles were far greater than the previous gold dust. Although his Sharingan could see the trajectory of the long needles, such a dense attack was difficult to completely avoid even with the Sharingan. He quickly adjusted his tactics and began to use the surrounding environment to evade. Trees, rocks, and any shelter he could find became his safe haven. At the same time, he began to look for the pattern in Luo Sha's long needle attack, trying to find a way to crack this offensive. In such a tense duel, Uchiha Yan's Sharingan gradually adapted to the attack rhythm of the long needles. He began to be able to predict the dense areas of the long needles and react in advance. Fire style. Great fireball technique. Uchiha Yan shouted loudly, and a fierce flame spurted out of his mouth. The flame quickly spread in the air and ignited the trees and vegetation, forming a fire net. This fire net not only blocked the attack of the gold sand needles, but also melted them and turned them into harmless dust. The high temperature and brightness of the flames created a spectacular sight on the battlefield. The flames reflected on Uchiha Yan's determined face, and his Sharingan appeared even more profound in the flames. The power of fire release ninjutsu lies not only in the attack, but also in its ability to create a favorable battlefield environment, providing ninjas with more tactical options. Luo Sha saw this, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. He didn't expect that Uchiha Yan could quickly adjust his tactics under such circumstances and use fire ninjutsu to resist his magnetic attack. He realized that Uchiha Yan not only possessed powerful bloodline power, but also had excellent combat wisdom and adaptability. The fire net temporarily blocked the attack of the gold sand needle, buying precious time for Uchiha Yan. He did not waste this opportunity and immediately began to look for Luo Sha's flaws, preparing to launch a counterattack. His Sharingan continued to observe the battlefield in the firelight, looking for the pattern and rhythm of Luo Sha's control of the gold sand. As the fire-style ninjutsu continued, Uchiha Yan began to feel the consumption of chakra. He knew that although the fire style was powerful, continuous use would consume a lot of chakra. He had to end the battle before the chakra was exhausted. Under the cover of the flames, Uchiha Yan began to move quickly, his figure looming in the firelight, making it difficult for Luo Sha to lock his position. At the same time, he began to look for opportunities, preparing to use the fire escape ninjutsu to launch the final decisive attack. Although Uchiha Yan used the fire style, great fireball technique to create a fire net to block Raza's magnet style, gold rain of sand, Raza's tactical changes and experience allowed him to quickly find a countermeasure. Raza calmly analyzed the weaknesses of the fire net, and he knew that a single fire-style ninjutsu could not completely restrain his magnet style. Luo Sha began to mobilize his chakra, and his hands formed seals again. Magnetic style, gold dust massacre. He shouted loudly, and as he called, the gold dust on the ground began to surge, turning into a golden torrent, bypassing the flame area and attacking Uchiha Yan from an unexpected angle. Although Uchiha Yan noticed the movement of the golden sandstorm through his Sharingan, his chakra was already very low, and it became difficult to maintain the fire ninjutsu. He tried to dodge again, but the speed and range of the golden sandstorm far exceeded his expectations, and his movements began to slow down. The golden sandstorm finally caught up with Uchiha Yan, and the long golden sand needles pierced through the flames and hit his body mercilessly. Uchiha Yan felt a sharp pain, and he staggered and fell to one knee. The short sword in his hand was inserted into the ground, supporting his body. Luo Sha walked up to Uchiha Yan and looked at the young ninja. There was no mockery in his eyes, only recognition of Uchiha Yan's courage and persistence. You are qualified as an opponent. But in a fight, there is always a winner and a loser. Uchiha Yan raised his head, his Sharingan still flashing with an unyielding light. Even though he was defeated, he did not give up. I am not finished yet. Uchiha Yan's defeat was like a huge rock thrown into a calm lake, stirring up thousands of waves. This result made the situation of the Nawaka team take a sharp turn for the worse, and the already tense situation became even more severe. Now, they were facing the huge pressure of 2 against 3, and both of them felt heavy in their hearts. Faced with such a difficult situation, how easy is it for Nawaki and Hyuga Suzuran to turn the tide? Endless difficulties and challenges await them ahead.